Is this thing on?
Are you ready, Matt?
You're listening to Box Office Ninjas with Matt Diaz and Ernesto Santos.
Good evening, folks. We have a wonderful evening's entertainment lined up for you.
We know each other. He's a friend from work.
Box Office Ninjas.
The only way that I know how to do it is to find you a bloody good time.
He's my friend. I don't have friends. I got family. I can do this all day.
If you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything.
I just feel like there's just so many things that first of all, the movie we're talking about this week, I'm very excited. I think I'm very excited to talk about this movie. But also, I feel like we kind of preemptively set up our What You're Watching this week. And it's kind of very much curated. So I'm also very excited about that because I feel like there's a lot that we're going to be going over with this week.
Yeah, it definitely feels like in kind of a way a catch-up week. Between like we took a week off, we had Marquise on the last episode, and so like now it's been at least for us, it's been a minute since we've sat down and recorded another episode. So yeah, there's a lot of catching up to do, but also we're gonna be talking about a movie that a lot of people, I mean, maybe not like generally like a lot of people. I don't think it's getting like huge buzz, but in Hollywood, this movie is definitely getting a lot of buzz, and that movie, which is going to be our spoiler review of the week, is One Battle After Another, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Sean Penn, Benicio Del Toro, Regina Hall, Tiana Taylor, and Chase Infinity. Written and directed by 11-time Oscar nominee Paul Thomas Anderson. He's also responsible for writing and directing Boogie Nights, Hard 8, Magnolia, Punch Drunk Love, There Will Be Blood, The Master, Phantom Thread, and his most recent film, which was also nominated at the Oscars a few years back, was Licorice Pizza, a movie we actually talked about, I guess, 3 or 4 years ago at this point.
It feels like forever ago, but yes,
It feels like
that was a great movie. It was a good movie. I liked it.
It was a good movie, and now Paul Thomas Anderson is back again with One Battle After Another, which is inspired by the 1990 novel called Vineland, from author Thomas, I guess it's Picon. Probably should look that up before we recorded, but anyway.
We usually do. It was like as soon as I saw the name, I was like, "Oh yeah, we fucked up."
Here we go.
Oh damn!
Damn it! We're so prepared,
so professional.
Without talking about the movie specifically, I know this is kind of 11-time Oscar nominee. That's a lot of times to be nominated for an Oscar and not win one. Do you think that this is Paul Thomas Anderson's next best shot at getting one?
100%. I feel like there's so much to unpack in this film, and like just from performances alone, I mean, there's a lot to. Without giving too much away, there's a lot to appreciate within this film, and I mean, this movie faced a massive budget. I think it was like 104. I think it was like 140 million. But I think this is one of those movies that like they didn't necessarily care about the budget more than they cared about this vision of this film being put out.
Yeah, I was reading earlier. There's no clear defined number on this movie, but it said it cost anywhere between 130 to 175.
Yeah, it's because they shot the whole thing in VistaVision.
Yeah, which is not cheap.
Not cheap. That is not cheap at all.
And it's crazy because when you hear that, it's like, then you ask why, because there's only a limited amount of theaters that can even play that. So like, why go through the trouble when most people are not going to see it? And that's what the artistry of it all kind of comes into play. Like, we're looking for the aesthetic, and we want to say that we did it. And it's the same reason why some movies are filmed on a broader scale. Like, some films are filmed with IMAX cameras. Like, granted, IMAX theaters are more widely available for more people to appreciate it. But then when you hear, we filmed it with like 70 millimeter or 35 millimeter, like true IMAX, there's only a few theaters in the world that actually can play that. And so you have to go out of your way to do that. And those theaters are packed when it comes to it. The last big movie to do that was Sinners, and a lot of people were driving to the theater. As Christopher Nolan's is most known for using that. Oppenheimer was sold out for weeks in those theaters, and there's already theaters sold out for the Odyssey movie that comes out next year because exactly 1 year from the release date, which was back in July, they put out tickets for Odyssey for the first showing in this true IMAX format, and it's already sold out.
Already sold out. I
Already
mean,
sold out.
I respect it. I mean, if you have the opportunity to go see it in the way the artist intended it
Yeah.
for it to be seen, then that's something that you should absolutely do. Like if I had the means and I was able to, like I think the true IMAX, that one, that 70 millimeter, I think the closest one to us is in like Fort Lauderdale.
It
Like,
is. Yeah, it's not close.
I'm not making it down. I'm not going to Fort Lauderdale to go see it as much as I want to. We have IMAX theaters here. It's not a true IMAX to that
Yeah.
extent, but it's good enough. I mean, plus you know how I feel. Dolby is superior,
You
but
do
I
love your
understand.
Dolby.
I do love my Dolby theater. Like there's just
And there's two close by ish. Like
Yeah.
there's two in the area, maybe not closer to you. You make the drive to see movies in Dolby.
I absolutely do. And then there's out of the two Dolbys that I have, one is superior to the other, and I like them.
Are
I
you talking
enjoy
about the one in
them.
Disney Springs?
The one in Disney Springs is by far the most superior Dolby theater. And then granted, I haven't seen them all, but
Yeah.
in my experience, in the ones in the Orlando area, it is leaps and bounds better than the one in Altamont Springs. The one in Altamont
Yeah.
Springs is much smaller. Like it's
Mhm.
just a smaller. It just seems like a smaller theater. Like it seems like a big regular theater. But when you
Yeah.
compare it to the Dolby in Disney Springs, that's got a third floor balcony, like it's just incomparable.
And it's crazy. This is a whole tangent that we had no plan on talking
No,
about.
we
But
didn't.
it's crazy to think about, like when there's movies that are offered in certain formats, and they claim that this is Dolby, this is IMAX, and then you compare it to other theaters, and you're like, are you sure this is the same thing? Because I looked at the other theater over there, and this screen's fucking massive, and you're telling me that IMAX screen is the same quality as that IMAX screen? No fucking way is that.
No.
That's not true.
No, and it's just I appreciate IMAX for the wider scope. I guess it gives us because you
Yes.
get a wider frame, so you get a bigger screen. You get like the as wide as it can get. But there's just something about the quality that a Dolby Cinema gives you. Like, first of all, I feel like they make an extra effort to put you in a black enclosed theater. Like, I feel like there's like certain theaters, like you'll walk in and they still have the door to the lobby still open. Whereas, like, you walk into the Dolby theater, you have to walk through a hallway. You go through a door that's 99% of the time is closed, and you always
Yeah.
walk through the other door that's always closed, and then you walk into this pitch black theater. Like it is like the darkest theater you can ever be. Like barely the lights are lit up, and I don't know.
Yeah.
They just do a better job. I feel like because of the premium format, I feel like the theater workers just take extra care to make sure. Okay, are the house lights off afterwards? I don't remember. There was a movie that we reviewed and I can't remember. I think it was him. I went to like this rinky dink theater to go see it, and they didn't even close the curtains all the way. Like they had, I guess
They have curtains.
it was old school. So they have curtains for when the trailers play, and then when the movie plays, they have to open it up. They left the
Okay.
curtains up during the entire movie. I guess I'm just watching it in like this regular widescreen format. Like I can see the corners of the frame.
Yeah.
On the coming through.
The curtains in for the screen.
Yes.
Oh, I see. I thought you meant like for the theater itself.
No, because most theaters now they have automatic ones, but this was an old school one where someone has to come and literally move the damn curtain all the way to the end and close it again. This is
That's
not
so
like
funny.
AMC where like like it just automatically like you can if
Well,
you pay attention
most-
you see the automatic adjustment. But
Yeah,
no.
but most screens or most theaters don't even have the curtains anymore.
Yes, I know.
Yeah. That being said, did I ever tell you about my experience at the Chinese theater in California?
I don't
Did I
think
ever
you-
talk about
I
that?
don't think you have.
No, so a few weeks back, this was back in July. I took a very quick trip to California, and I had some time in the Hollywood area, and so I was like, you know what? I have never seen a movie in the Chinese theater, and I paid for the tour once, like back in 2016, and I hated it. I spent like $30, and all they did was show you the lobby, show you the main theater, gave you a few fun facts, and then like thank you for your time. It was like a 20-minute tour, and I was like, well, for the same price, I could have seen just a fucking movie and done the same thing. I could have read this. I could have read the signs that were all over the theater. So like, I feel like I got scammed, and that was me almost 10 years ago. So now, 2025, I'm like, okay, I have time to actually maybe enjoy a movie in here. What movie is playing? What's in the theater? I want to see something on the big screen. What do we got? Fantastic Four was playing. I had already seen it, and I was like, "All right, I want to see this movie in IMAX." They have it's not true IMAX, but it's close enough. Like when they have the 35 millimeter showings, it will not be at that IMAX, but it's like the theater was made for an IMAX screen. They still have the proper IMAX camera, so we're basically all but the 35 millimeter version of that. And if the
Mhm.
movie's on 35 millimeter, then you don't need it. So like it has all the things you need. The screen is huge. Like it's like you are already elevated and you're walking down the stairs. And also there are no doors, at least for the theater that I went to, which I thought was interesting. This is why when we said no doors, that sparked my memory on that. Like the lobby is the theater, if that makes sense. So like basically there's the lobby, the concessions, a room, which I'm assuming where the projector lives, and then the theater itself. But it's open, it's open air. Like there's no doors, there's no curtains. You just literally walk behind the concession stand and you are in the theater. And it is huge. And it's an interesting experience. You would think that you would hear things in the back, but because you're going down, everything is up, so you don't really feel the impact
Oh,
of
that's
like either
interesting.
light coming in or whatever the case may be. And so the screen is huge, and like it definitely feels like you're on the ground looking up into this massive screen. It was an interesting experience.
Did you enjoy it? Like that? Like I would almost like you don't feel distracted. Was it too light? Like it was dark enough?
No, I think again because I guess it's maybe how the lighting works in the theater. It's like you are going around it, so it's like yes, you're coming from that area, but unless you're like seated in the corner right behind it,
Mm,
like if you're further down to the theater, you won't even see the light behind you. Also, there's so many other lights happening.
that's
My
cool.
main concern was going to be the sound, but the theater was dead, so I don't like. I would assume that if it's a packed night, then you would hear a lot of people from the lobby. But also, you're in an IMAX setting, and the screen, the sound is very loud. It was definitely a unique experience. I was happy that I was actually got to see a movie in the Chinese theater. It was like not a bucket list item, but something I've always wanted to do, and I had to finally have the time to do it. But yeah, it just like it's interesting to see how theaters are designed in certain ways, and like either enhance or just like diminish your experience based on certain things. And since I've already seen the movie at that time, it was my second viewing watching Fantastic Four. I was mainly like just looking around the room and kind of
Taking it all in.
soaking it in. Yeah,
Yeah.
taking it all in, so to speak. But it's gorgeous. But also it had a screen, so like a curtain. So like the curtains came in and closed up, and then it had like a light, which it's a gobo, which is definitely like the Fantastic Four logo from the light that just kind of projected onto the curtain or light to the curtain. But yeah, it was a unique experience. I definitely recommend like if you're in the Hollywood area, just go see a movie in the Chinese theater. It's definitely unique. It's not something you're going to get anywhere else. The next movie theater I want to hit up is definitely the El Capitan, which is Disney owned theater, and they only run Disney movies there. And so basically, I had the option of going one or the other, and they were both showing the same thing. So I chose to see the bigger screen and the more Hollywood version. But next time I go, I would like to see a movie at the El Capitan because they do some interesting things since it's Disney owned. They do a lot of like special like memorabilia that's there, specially themed food options that are there. And so I'm sure they're doing a lot of stuff for Tron right now. And then they have an organ player at the start of every show, which is something they used to do back in the day, and they still do it today.
Interesting. That's kind
So
of cool.
I feel like instead of watching trailers, you're just listening to music from a live organ player who is who is like just performing for you before the start of the show. And then once the showtime starts, he leaves. They open up the curtains and you watch the movie.
That's kind of cool.
hmm So definitely something I want to experience. But anyway, that's a long tangent to say.
Yeah.
A long tangent to say that One Battle After Another is a movie that was primarily expensive because it chose to uh, use certain formats to get its artistic vision out. And whether or not most people see it or not, it's I guess at this point it's irrelevant because when you have a director like Paul Thomas Anderson, when you have that stature, you can pretty much do whatever you want at this point.
Yeah.
Like there's just certain directors that have such notoriety that like, yeah, you're doing a movie, we'll support you whatever you do. And they've earned that right to do that. But with that, yeah, I am curious. I do think that One Battle After Another, with all the hype and all the talk and all the positive reviews that it's been getting, I think it'll get nominated. But it'll be curious to see now going into the next year's award season if he's going to finally get his win. And it feels like he's going to find a win somewhere in there because of all the hype that this movie's getting. But we have to see how it compares to all the other movies because this is the hype right now. What is that? Can it sustain that for the next several months?
That's a good point. That's a good point. Like like in a couple of months, are we still going to talk about how great this movie was? Like all the great things
Right.
in comparison to everything else that's going to come out through the end of the year.
Exactly. But we will have that conversation throughout the award season, and we'll dive into our spoiler review of One Battle After Another later in the show. But first, we got a jam-packed show for you guys this week, and we're going to be talking about some entertainment news.
Wow.
I don't know why I did that.
I like that little transition. You even workshopping that?
Yeah.
I could tell you were thinking about that.
I think I stole it from another podcast.
I think so.
Anyway,
It's okay.
Anyway, we don't have a lot to talk about, but we do got a few things. First and foremost, Aaron Sorkin's upcoming sequel to The Social Network has received a bunch of new updates. We had talked about that Aaron Sorkin was making a sequel to The Social Network a few episodes back, and now we got some more details about it. The sequel is now officially titled The Social Reckoning and is expected to hit theaters October 9th, 2026. So almost exactly almost a year from today. Which I feel is very quick that movie is already going into production and getting the ball running since we just heard about it. Sometimes we talk about movies that like, hey, it's being announced in development, and it takes us 3 to 4 years before we even see that movie come to fruition. And in this case, we're getting it very, very soon. The film has also collected an all-star cast, including Mickey Madison, who she just won an Oscar-winning role for Honora. Jeremy Allen White, who of course is from The Bear, Emmy-winning from The Bear. He was in Shameless, right?
He was in Shameless. He was in The Iron Claw. He's doing the Bruce Springsteen movie this year.
Yeah, which he's already being looked at as a potential Oscar nominee for Best Actor. So like, yeah, that's a great get. He also got Bill Burr, who is obviously a famous comedian and had a couple of supporting roles in The Mandalorian, and Jeremy Strong, who just recently also got nominated at the Oscars last year for the movie The Apprentice.
Yeah.
But also, with his huge success over in Succession as well. Jeremy Strong, who is confirmed to be playing Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg, which is, I think, a fantastic role for him to kind of dive into. Described as a companion piece to 2010 Social Network, the new film focuses on the events that take place nearly 2 decades after the Boy Jesus programmer and the trophy of tech pioneers invented what would go on to become the world's largest social media platform. The Social Reckoning tells the story of how Francis Hugen, who is played by Madison, a young Facebook engineer, and enlists the help of Jeffrey Horowitz, who is played by Jeremy Allen White, a Wall Street Journal reporter, on a dangerous mission that ends up blowing the whistle on the social media network's most guarded secrets. As previously announced, the Social Reckoning is based off the Wall Street Journal's The Facebook Files, a series of articles authored by Jeff Horowitz and published in October of 2021, which further exposes the inner workings of the company. The production expected to begin next month.
Yeah, I think this sounds super interesting. Especially, I've never read the Facebook Files, but I vaguely remember it having something to do with like the time during like the election, which has always been a big contention about
Mhm.
what was Facebook's role in like suppression of certain media that got out or certain stories that didn't get out or just and especially like Facebook during just social media during COVID, I think is a really, really interesting piece that I hope is tackled in this. And so if read that right, Jeremy Allen White is going to be playing Mark Zuckerberg, but and I haven't seen the
Yep.
original Social Network. That was originally played by
Oh, you haven't?
no, I guess at this point I'm saving it to when this movie comes out.
I guess so. Yeah.
But the
I'm
original
surprised. That's one hell of a movie.
that's what I hear. But it's one of those that like I've heard it's great, but it just like I didn't get to it when it came out, and it's one of those that just like
Yeah.
keeps escaping me. But now obviously
Yep.
I'm gonna be forced, but air quotes forced to watch it right before the release of this one. But the original,
Yeah. Well, now there's more of a reason to watch it. I guess
yeah,
there's more of a precedent to watch The Social Network. But yes, I think what your question is it the original movie? Jesse Eisenberg plays
yeah,
Mark Zuckerberg.
right. I think that's interesting that to not bring Jesse Eisenberg back to play that role, or is it that he just doesn't have the look or the feel? Like I guess from Jesse Eisenberg, he's turned into Jeremy Allen White, or he's turned into excuse me, Jeremy Strong.
Jeremy Strong. Yeah,
Um,
that's a good point because obviously the movie came out in 2010, so it would be 16 years ago. It's not to say that Jesse Eisenberg is incapable of, portraying the character of the real life person 20 years later at this point. So
I just wonder if like maybe Aaron Sorkin views him philosophically as like a different person. So the Jesse Eisenberg, maybe he doesn't fit the vibe of what he feels Mark Zuckerberg has turned into.
which is perfectly fine. I mean, Jesse Eisenberg definitely still has a younger
Right? Yeah, that's
feel
kind of how I
to
see
him.
it.
Yeah,
But I mean, Mark Zuckerberg looks young. Him and Jesse Eisenberg
true.
actually look I think like when you look at them, they look similar-ish. Like they have the same kind of look. Like the small
Yeah,
brown curly hair and like I don't know, when I look at Jeremy Strong, I don't think Mark Zuckerberg. But if you when I
yeah,
hear Jesse Eisenberg, I was like, "Oh, I can see it." Just from a look
yeah.
standpoint, but I wonder if that's not even his viewpoint in casting that role. I wonder if it's more of the delivery that Jeremy Strong is going to bring, as opposed to not to say that Eisenberg can't bring it, but you know what I mean? Like maybe it's just not what he's looking for in this evolution of the same character he's already played.
Yeah, and it is curious to see if like maybe Aaron Sorkin reached out to Jesse Eisenberg and he wasn't available
Could have been it
or
too.
wasn't interested. Or to your point, maybe Aaron Sorkin was like, "Yeah, I think I'm looking for a different version of this character or this portrayal of what I want." And Jeremy Strong fits the bill. And for all we know, we don't even know what the involvement. It definitely feels like this movie is going to be led by Mickey Madison and Jeremy Allen White. Those are I feel like our two main leads here. And for all we know, Jeremy Strong might have a minimal role in it
That's
as
true.
Facebook founder.
But and
So
then so that's also interesting because the whole isn't the and obviously this is coming from me not knowing. Isn't he's the main lead in the first movie? So the first movie is like almost from is it his point of view?
yeah, it's from his point of view. Yeah,
So
for the
then
most.
the sequel to that for him to become a supporting character, I think is also incredibly interesting. I don't know this.
Yeah,
There's just
well, they
there's just
said
a
it's
lot.
it's a companion piece. It's not a direct sequel, but it's like in the same world. World is in quotes here, but it's like we're taking something that's similar to the movie, obviously the start of it, and now years later to see how it's evolved throughout all of the last 20 years of this being a thing, and the downfalls and the complications politically. There's a lot to dive into it, and like I think it's interesting to see like this isn't necessarily a sequel. However, this is a story continuing off of real life events. I'm almost thinking this like an anthology series now.
Okay, all right.
It's kind of like how Black Mirror is like horror meets tech.
So the only
Um,
returning character is Facebook itself, like the actual like the the essence that company brings. and how
Yes,
the
that
people
and I
and how
guess
the
Aaron
people
Sorkin.
yeah, and like kind of his viewpoint on what the company does. I'm just very intrigued on kind of the direction of all this.
Yeah,
Like
hundred
I'm all
percent.
for it. Like I'm very interested to watch the original, but I'm kind of now I definitely just want to wait until this one comes out and kind of do a full analysis of both films.
Yeah, and this is obviously the written word of Aaron Sorkin. So like he's definitely going to have his own style
Of
to how
course.
he wants the story to be presented. Very different from the Social Network, which was written by Aaron Sorkin but directed by David Fincher.
Mhm.
And but yeah, I'm 100% on board for this. I think currently even the idea sounded interesting, and
Yeah.
now as we get updates, we're getting a cast, a little bit more of a focused story. I'm in. Like, okay, here we go. We got some great actors involved with it. I always love Aaron Sorkin. I was already watching it to begin with, but now I'm more interested in what this has to offer. And this is coming in right around the fall time, so I bet they're looking at this for the award season for 2027.
Oh, I had just
Yeah,
assumed that. I didn't even think that wasn't a possibility. It's that this is
wasn't even in question.
yeah, this is definitely Oscar bait, which is fine. I mean,
It's fine.
this is that time of year.
That time of year.
All right. So moving on. I'm actually very excited about. I don't know if you knew, Matthew, when you selected for me to read the story that I was a John Grisham fan, but I'm
No.
so long. Okay, so sidebar. When I used to work security at a hospital, I had a lot of time to read. So I used to read this John Grisham books were like always my go-to. I would always
Hmm.
I just really loved his stories like The Firm. I'm pretty sure I've read this one. I'm pretty sure I've read The Partner, but there's like a slew of his books that I
Mhm.
just burned through, and some of them I've read. Like The King of Torts is another one I can remember off the top of my head, which I really love. And I'm like 75% positive that I've also read The Partner. So
Mhm.
actor director Jason Bateman has signed on to direct an adaptation of John Grisham's 1997 best-selling novel The Partner, with Tom Holland in talks to star as the lead. The story will follow a junior attorney at a white shoe law firm who fakes his own death in order to steal $90 million from a dodgy client. With the film still in early development, no further details were given about the project or if Bateman will also star in the film. Yeah, so I'm all for this. Just the fact that it's a John Grisham book being adapted. I mean, famously, if you've ever seen The Firm, the movie The Firm with Tom
Mhm.
Cruise, that is also based off a John Grisham book. There's a couple of them too. There's quite a few of them that have been like major movies. He writes great stories. So I mean, I love Jason Bateman, Tom Holland's, and he's a star. So
Yeah.
this is like a drop in the bucket. Like I'm all for whatever this is going to be.
Yeah, it's been 10 years since we've seen a movie from Jason Bateman. He's over the last 10 years, he's been obviously focusing on Ozark
Yeah.
and other shows on streaming. But he has not directed a movie. I think the first movie he directed was Bad Words, and then The Family Fang that came out in either 2015 or 2017. That movie came out, and I'm just gonna double check real quick. Uh, 2015. So yeah, so it's been 10 years since we've seen a movie from Jason Bateman, and I think Bad Words ends up coming out in 2012, 2013. Okay, so yeah, and then pretty much after The Family Thing, he went right into Ozark, and then he's been over there since. And he actually just came out with a new show. I'm not sure if he had involvement with developing it, but there's a limited series called the Black Rabbit that's on Netflix right now. It just hit there a few weeks ago. It's been getting some pretty positive reviews. I'm curious to see what his involvement is. Black Rabbit. Uh, Jason Bateman directed 2 episodes of the limited series. He's contributed as a producer, executive producer. So he's not the creator of the show. But either way, um, I'm interested in watching that show. But regardless, Jason Bateman, he solidified himself as a director in my eyes when he started directing episodes of Ozark.
Oh,
Because those episodes, when you have a feeling that like, damn, this episode's good. Who directed that? And then the credits start. It's like, fucking Bateman,
Just
man.
fucking Jason Bateman. That's so true.
Uh,
I remember it came to a point that even before we would watch the episode, I would watch the episode and before it came up, and I go, I can just tell that was a Jason Bateman episode. And like I was
yeah,
like, oh, there it is. He directed this
there
one
it is.
too. Like he just has a very distinct style, and he fucking nails it every time. He gets comedy. There's just the way that he's able to blend comedy with really any genre. Because I mean, Ozark
Yeah.
was so dark, but just the way that he was able to just blend those two things together was just exceptional.
Yeah, and honestly, like it's kind of interesting to see now. His first two movies were primarily drama comedies. When with the two movies that he's directed, and now over time he's now kind of sliding away from the comedy world and like hitting into hard dramas, thrillers, mystery vibe, and it's away from comedy. So now seeing that his next project is The Partner, which looks to be like a political thriller.
It's
Maybe is
more.
that
It looks like if I remember correctly, it's like a mystery. It's like a mystery thriller.
Okay. I mean, also, I mean, we had the synopsis here. Yeah, law firm. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, mystery thriller. I'm all for Jason Bateman, whatever he does, as far as behind the camera, even in front of as well, but mainly behind the camera. And then what's also interesting about that is that Tom Holland's in talks to star as the lead. Tom Holland's having one hell of a career, and it's interesting to hear that lately he said that after, he's looking to retire soon because he had a very busy 2025 filming schedule between going from Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey straight into Spider-Man, and I thought he would say he's going to slow down after this, but clearly not. If he's already looking to star, and probably not a physically demanding role as what he's used to. But I think this is interesting to see. If he is actually the star, I'm really curious to see how he performs outside of the way that we've typically seen him. And we've had it before. There was a movie on Netflix that he did with Robert Pattinson that was called the Devil something, the Devil
Devil all the
Inside,
time. Was it
the Devil all the time. Yeah, the
with
Devil all the
Robert,
time.
him and
Yeah,
Robert Pattinson? Yeah,
yeah, we got to see a different side of him in that role. Also, Cherry,
yeah.
and so like there's been movies out there that he's also starred in that got to see his more dramatic side. But I think now under the guise of Jason Bateman, I can see we can explore his, especially also with Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. A lot of people say that Christopher Nolan pushes the boundaries on these actors to push out performances we've never seen them do before, and clearly for Robbie Downey Jr. that pushed him to win an Oscar. So we'll see what happens with the Odyssey, but I mean, Tom Holland's a rising star. One to argue is already a star, and to see him now go into this in a different setting, I look forward to that.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to see what comes of this.
Yeah, hopefully we see it sooner rather than later.
True.
And the last bit of news we're going to talk about this week is a sequel to the Simpsons movie is officially in the works at Disney's 20th Century, and slated to release in theaters July 23rd, 2027. This will mark 20 years since The Simpsons debuted for the first time on the big screen in 2007. That's one of all. First of all, it's crazy that this series has been going on for so long. Disney announced a few years back that the show was renewed through season 20. I'm sorry, season 40. And I think we just started either season 36 or 37 right now. So, like,
I think it's 37 because I think I always check, and I think they're as old. The show is as old as I am because it started in '88.
got it. Okay. Okay. So, the fact that this show is still on the air, still making new episodes, whether people watch it or not, is irrelevant because people are, it's almost a staple
It absolutely
at this
is.
point. The Simpsons is, and the fact that there's only one movie out for as long as it's been running is kind of crazy to think about. But now, obviously, this project has probably been running in the background for a while. Given that the release date is somewhat recent, within 2 years, we're getting this movie. Typically, when they announce animated features, it's going to take at least 4 years to make it. So this was in development for at least 2 years. But then again, they churn out these episodes very quickly, so maybe it doesn't take long to. I mean, they're probably going to do a couple things differently with a feature length film. But I remember the first Simpsons movie. I'm not a big Simpsons guy, but I remember really enjoying that movie. It was really funny.
It was really funny. It was really good. I'm
Yeah.
good. I'm on board for this. I think it's going to be great.
Yeah.
I used to watch The Simpsons all the time when I was a kid growing up. I mean, obviously, I've fallen off, and I feel like The Simpsons has set the standard for so many other like adult cartoons to do so many different things. Not
Of
necessarily
course.
to copy them, but I felt like they are the ones that kind of like set the bar for a lot of them
Yeah.
to continue to do different things, like King of the Hill and just all these other shows, Futurama, and eventually
Family Guy.
eventually leading to Family Guy, and eventually leading to like South Park, and like
Yeah.
just pushing the boundaries and just like using animation for social commentary. And I think
Mhm.
and I feel like the Simpsons is the one they do it the best. I feel like they're able to do it in a way that's digestible for multiple audiences, whether young or old. It's more digestible, which is why it's on prime time and not on cable.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting to see, its ongoing uh there's so much to pull from
Yeah.
the last 20 years to have a social commentary about. It'd be interesting to see what direction they go. While no further details were released, the announcement on social media came in the form of a new poster, which you're seeing here if you're watching us on YouTube or podcast. What's it? Podcast?
Spotify.
Spotify?
Yeah. Spotify.
Spotify. Yeah, Spotify. Yeah, if you're watching us on YouTube or Spotify, the we have the poster here, which features the signature pink donut and the tagline Homer's coming back for seconds. The film has taken. Yeah, sorry. Before I get into that part, yeah, I think it's a very. It's funny because it's iconic poster. The first one was of just the pink donut and like the bite off of it. I still vividly remember that poster after all these years, and so I think it's a callback to. It's very simple, but it says a lot.
Hmm.
And also, that donut's been there for a while, as you can see. Or is this a very greasy donut? I don't know.
Or it could be both things.
It could be both things. Two things can be true. And then here's on a separate note. Here's another interesting fact that's kind of in conjuncture with this announcement. The film has taken place of an untitled Marvel project, which was removed from the studio's release schedule. So July 23rd, 2027, occupied a untitled Marvel movie, and now that movie, whatever it was, that date has now no longer in use and has been given to The Simpsons to cover out that summer 2027 uh, slate. And so, with that, in terms of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that now means that there is no longer a Marvel movie coming out between Avengers Doomsday, which comes out December 18th, 2026, and Avengers Secret Wars, which comes out December 17th, 2027. So I think going back to our Marvel conversations we've been having for the last couple of weeks is again more solidifying that Marvel is scaling back on their films and really now focusing and kind of cementing that there are now officially only 3 movies that are coming out between right now and the end of 2027 from Marvel, and realistically only 2 movies coming out from Marvel Studios and 1 movie coming out from Sony in
Hmm.
partnership with Marvel. So they're putting a lot of their focus on these Avengers movies, and I think if I was a betting man, I think that's smart because now all you're putting all your eggs on these 2 Marvel movies or 2 Avengers movies, and I feel like they really want to make sure they got these right, and also putting more money into that when they're scaling back on other projects.
Yeah, I'm trying to steer away from Avengers Doomsday news just because
Mm.
like the last I heard, they did an interview with I think it was Rebecca Romaine, and they're like, "How's it coming along?" They're like, "I don't know, the script hasn't been finished." They're like actively still writing the script. It's
Hmm.
wow, the movie comes out in like a year and a half at this point. It's like, yeah, I don't know. It's like that doesn't the things that I hear don't make me feel confident about what's coming. And like I liked Fantastic Four, but I guess I had much higher expectations because this was
Of course.
we were told that Fantastic Four was like the main reset of like what the new standard is going to be. And it was fine.
Mhm.
It was enjoyable, but it's not I think I just expected more out of them. And it's just hearing the news I'm excited, but I'm not. I feel like I should be more excited for Marvel stuff. Does that make sense? I'm not as
Yeah,
excited as
I
I
think
feel like I should be.
I feel like I'm taking it one movie at a time. The next one's Spider Man, and I'm really looking forward to Spider Man. Nothing but great things that we've seen so far from Spider Man with the
True.
early press, not really press, but more of the early footage we're seeing off of filming. And like I'm just taking it one movie at a time, not taking too many things off a stride. Also, we're so long. It's so long before we get the next Avengers movie.
That's
We're
true.
we're not we're still over a year away. We are currently what 14 months away from that movie. A lot could happen in 14 months. They gave themselves a big cushion to make sure that they get this movie right, whether they're rewriting the script, trying to make it perfect, and I'm assuming then focusing in Secret Wars that comes out in 2 years from now. So, and I don't even know how much they filmed of that movie yet, but clearly it doesn't sound like that they were filming this movie at the same time. So these are two separate movies that they're working on, and Spider Man is going to be the first next movie on the docket, which is currently filming now, which is crazy because we're getting that movie in less than a year.
Yeah.
Um, so it's a quick turnaround for specifically Spider-Man, but giving a lot of breathing room for the Avengers. And I think it's just to account to make sure that everything is lining up the way they want to. And so like I'm not like overly excited. There's nothing hyping me about these next set of movies except for Spider-Man being Spider-Man, and I'm looking forward for another Spider-Man movie. But over the last couple of years, Marvel has not been paving a clear line to excitement for Doomsday. So I think Doomsday is going to do a lot of heavy lifting that I feel like the previous Marvel films were able to like get you excited, get you pumped, leading one to the next, and then we get to Infinity War, and it's all building up to this, and we've been ready for that moment. Where with Doomsday, it feels like it's starting right there
Yeah.
at Doomsday with
Yeah.
a little help from Thunderbolts, a little help from Captain America Brave New World, a little help from Fantastic Four. And like those, obviously, those arcs and those stories are coming into Doomsday, but it doesn't feel like it's a huge deal like it was a few years ago. It's a hard thing to replicate. And so they had a huge undertaking to do. And that's probably why they brought back Downey Jr., probably why they brought back Russo brothers. They want to make this perfect. That's a lot of pressure on Marvel to get this right, and the fans have high expectations on it. So I feel like they, in a way, they have a duty to respect what they've built, and also respect the fans for the stories they're looking to tell.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I
So
mean, you said it. You said it beautifully. I mean, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
we will see what happens. But anyway, The Simpsons will be coming out. The Simpsons will now be your filler between Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. I don't think it has anything to do with one another, but hey, you're getting a Simpsons movie in between the two. So there you go.
What if it gives us the post credit scene that we wanted from Fantastic Four?
Amazing.
How
That'll be
crazy would that
amazing.
be?
There's so much that they could do with this. And so I will definitely be looking forward to seeing The Simpsons in theaters. But there you go. That's all the entertainment news we have for you guys this week. As always, you can go to our social media channels on Facebook at Box Office Bingers, and our Instagram and Threads page at Box Office _Bingers. We'll post all the news over there first, and then we'll come back in the show at some point and we'll talk about it. So with that, we're going to be diving into a fun segment we like to call What You're Watching. And folks, we got a lot to talk about. It's been a couple weeks since we've had a proper What You're Watching. And so as Ernesto alluded, we got a few things we watched separately. We got a lot that we watched together. So let's get into it. Ernesto, we'll start with you. What have you been watching?
So I'm just gonna I haven't even finished watching this. I'm just gonna briefly mention the two shows that I've currently started, and this is really just so I had something to talk to you else besides all the other stuff we're reviewing. Just because there's just so much other stuff that I had to prioritize before I got to this. But I started the new season of Gen V. And they actually, in the first episode, they address the death of Chance. He was the actor from the first season. I feel like it's a really hard line between you're making it a bigger plot point, but also you're still addressing his death, but while still trying to continue on what narrative they had going on. And I do think that they did the best that they could while still giving us an entertaining season. Like the show is able to serve. They're finding its foot. It was able to find its footing pretty quickly with the loss of that character in that person. So I think it's worth watching. I mean, I think Gen V is possibly offering a better storyline to the boys. It feels like a great companion to the series, and I think it's good. I'm kind of excited to see where it goes. It just started a couple weeks ago, and we're through like the first two episodes in it, and it's like classic boys action. But they do spend a good chunk of the first episode kind of like talking about this character who died in real life,
Mm,
but also in a way writing him off the show.
right. Yeah, it looks like so the series started in September of 20 sorry. Excuse me. September 17th is when the series started and it launched with the first 3 episodes. They're releasing them weekly with the series having 8 episodes total and ending on October 22nd. So definitely I remember watching the first season and what to your point exactly, it's a great companion piece to the boys. Kind of expanding the world without necessarily not needing you to watch the boys to appreciate it.
Correct.
But if you do, you get some more context on it. But if you don't, then you can it kind of lives on its own and just you're still just seeing the normal antics that's happening in a different side of the world other than what's happening in the boys. And I think that's how a show should live
Yeah.
when it's especially a spinoff like that. It should very loosely rely on its source material, but have the ability to live on its own. And it sounds like from what you're saying that it's continuing to do that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think it does. I think it does that beautifully. Like it offers just such a great. I just think just a more entertaining narrative. Like the boys, as far as like major world implications in this world that they built, that's the
Hmm.
main storyline for it. And you know, like any the big things that are happening, that's what you're gonna want. But this is able to offer like a sub smaller story, but still live within the universe of it, and not like overtake what's happening in the main season or the main series, or like it doesn't have major implications on what's happening, but it's still big enough to where it makes a difference. Does that make
Yeah, it has its own stakes
Yeah, it has its
that
own
is
stakes.
like
Yeah.
worth investing time into rather than like, oh, like well this is happening, but it doesn't really mean much in the bigger grand scheme of things of this the world that's being built. Where I feel like in some cases very similarly to like Invincible, where you have some of these side stories that feel like are adding up to not much
Mm,
sometimes
yeah.
to the larger story that we're trying to have with like for a show like Invincible.
Yeah.
But I look forward to watching it. Since this is one of those shows where like it doesn't get spoiled for me
Hmm.
like through social media, so I feel like I can wait a little bit
Yeah.
and then do like a and which is what I prefer to do sometimes. I like to wait for a show to like get a few episodes in. I do like a halfway binge, and then I'm only doing a week to week for the last 4 to 3 episodes. The last 4 to 3 episodes, or three to sorry, the last 3 to 4 episodes I'll watch weekly, but I will like binge the first half of the season to get caught up. So like when the finale hits, I'm not like seeing those spoilers because that's when typically those articles come out when like, oh, such and such happened in the finale. We gotta talk about it or whatever. I did the same thing, kind of like Peacemaker. I watched like the first 3 episodes dropped. I started seeing things coming my way. And I was like, all right, I should probably watch. So I should probably binge this now and then keep up with the rest of it.
Yeah, which I've also kept up with, and I think after the finale, we'll probably kind of do a season 2 recap, especially since that's going to be the main lead in. Like that's the main lead in leading into the next DC film, which is Man of Tomorrow, which I am very excited about. Conversely,
Yeah.
about whatever Marvel is setting up, I feel like already like we've gotten great world building and great setups in DC.
Yeah, and especially as we've mentioned before, with James Gunn being, the not only the CEO of DC Universe, but also the creator of these shows, like he can streamline and have a more focused narrative because honestly, less people to talk to.
Yeah. That's true.
If he wants a decision to be made, he talks to himself. And
But it works. Creature Commandos was a successful TV show. I mean,
Yeah.
the Peacemaker, both seasons are successful. Superman was a smash hit this summer. I mean, the man has a great track record. That's all I'm saying.
yes, he does. I am really curious to see how it ends. And without diverting too much into Peacemaker, I have my issues with the season so far.
Okay.
I know a couple weeks ago we had like a half season review on the first 4 episodes, and then once the finale's out, which is at the time of this reporting later this week, then by if not next episode, the one after that, we'll have we'll have like a back half as well as a full season 2 recap of Peacemaker. But I am watching week to week now, and it's I feel like it's been ebb and flow for me, up and down. Like I like it, then I don't. And not say that the whole show, but like I like what they're doing. I'm not a bigger fan. I like what they're doing, and then it goes back down again. Like yeah, we'll get into that a little bit. You know, when we have a full recap on it. But I'm not fully in love with this season.
You're not
But
as in love as you'd like to be.
Sorry.
Like you're not in love with it as much as you'd like to be.
Yes.
Okay.
But again, that could change once the finale comes out because that can change my perspective depending on how it ends.
Okay.
So
That's fair. That's fair.
that's
Also,
all- that's-
also besides Gen V, I've started the season 4 of Abbott. I know season 5 just dropped, but I'm kind of like catching up. And it's funny because like it's just one of those shows that's just so enjoyable.
Mhm.
Like I started watching it, and then my oldest son was like, "Oh yeah, like I didn't finish watching season 4." So then he started watching it, and then my wife, who's like kind of cherry picked here and there, she started watching like a slew of episodes, and now she's starting the series for the first time. So like she's starting season. So it's just funny like how I started it, and now like it's been like a trickle effect. Like everybody else is in like a different point in the show. Like I think I think he's on season 5. My son's on season 5. I'm on 4, and then I'm watching season 1 with my wife.
That's funny. Abbott Elementary is just those shows that like it's such an easy watch.
Yes.
They're 20 minutes, 22 minute episodes. It's like very digestible, quick humor. Like you get a laugh at least every couple of minutes. It's so good. And yeah, for some reason season 4 just came and went so quickly. And it's been sitting there for a while. Like season 5 just dropped. And so I remember when I finished season 3, it was toward the end of season or like midway through season 4.
Yeah.
And if we were continuing on the path, we would have caught up by the winter break, and then by the new year, we would have like been watching weekly with the new episodes. But then I think because we binged a lot of it at once, we decided to take a pause on it, and then we just missed a whole season.
It works much better. At least for me, it works much better as a binge because you can just like you can pop like 3 or 4 episodes and like that in an hour, and like that's it. Like you
Yeah.
can just knock them out. I also think like you don't need to watch like it obviously helps if you watch it consecutively, but if you just happen to catch an episode here or there, I just felt like the way that the episodes are constructed, like you're not missing out on much by even if you
No.
just catch like a random episode here and there and you kind of haven't watched anything before. Like I feel like each episode on its own standing is enjoyable.
Yeah, it doesn't need a lot of prior history because there's like topics of the day, the
Yeah.
episode of the week. And then within those series, they give a little bit of character development in those episodes, depending on who is the main focus of that episode, as well as like what's going on in the overall season. But you can very quickly pick up the pieces just by watching a single episode because the focus, the narrative of that episode is the focus, like the main focus of it.
Yeah.
And then like toward the beginning and the end, they might give like small character development. Or within that episode is a character development. But it's funny within the context of the single episode, but also helps the broader scope if you're continuing watching the ones after that.
It also helps that a lot of these characters like they grow on you very easily. Like
Yes.
in the very first season, like I didn't really like Ava, the prince who's the principal. Like I just didn't really like her character as much. Like it took me a couple episodes, but now she's like one of my favorite characters. Like but I felt the same way about Michael Scott in The Office. Like I kind of he like irritated me at first, and it was just like he was just very off-putting. But then like you just learn, like you kind of like lean into it, And it just, I don't know. He's like, now that he's my favorite, and it's like very much the same with Abbott Elementary. Like Ava is like, to me, she's like the standout in the show.
Yeah, and I think that's honestly the most important thing about these shows is that the characters, you have to enjoy the characters.
Yeah.
And then obviously, the humor of it all, but the characters are what brings you back for these episodes. And when you see one of them on screen or certain ones paired up together, it creates that like comedic magic that you want to see either what happens next or just to see what crazy antics they're going to do next. And that's what it really contributes to the writing of the show. You have to have likable or at least entertaining characters. Like every time I forgot his name, but every time I see um the boyfriend come back from time to time.
Oh,
What's his name?
Tariq? No, is it Tariq? No,
Tariq. Yeah, I think that's it.
It is it. I think
Let
it's
me
his
just
name.
look it up real quick. Nope.
Abbott on Abbott on Abbott. That booty big. I'ma grab it. Or he's like later in the season, like he breaks up with Janine, and like he's dating another one of the moms, and he's like the head of the PTA now.
Yes, the head that I saw the first 2 episodes of season 4, and the head of, like I think one of the
He's got a
episodes
gavel.
starts with the head teeth.
He's like, I bought this gavel so I could take control, just so I could bang it, go bang bang. I just love how ridiculous he's ridiculous, and I love it.
I'm not seeing him on. Oh yeah, it is Tyreek. Okay, I went right past him. Yeah, it's Tyreek. He is probably my favorite character, by far. And I forgot there was like one episode a couple back, and he was like the whole theme of it was something, and he was a part of it, and then like it was like one of the stingers at the very end of the episode, and he was just so aloof of what was going on or what was happening, and it just cracked me up. It was something along the lines of like he wrote this. Oh, it was when I'm now remember he wrote a song. There was a song that was catchy that was for the people who are trying to go against Abbott Elementary. And then at the very end, he just pops up. He's like, "Hey, I just wrote this new song from somebody," and he was the one that wrote it, and I just died laughing. Or he's the one that sung it. He reminds me of the guy from Superstore who goes wah, wah, wah.
Oh yes, yes.
When he just pops in, says a few funny, stupid things, and bounces, and it's the funniest thing in the episode.
Well, it's just funny because it's like he just started dating like one of the moms, and he's like, "I'm here to get my son." He was just like the way that he like announces himself. It's like, all right, here. It's like, all right, love you, son. You're gonna call me dad now. Like, it was just, I don't know. It's just he's so random. I love how random he is. But I feel like every character has their like, and even the janitor. I feel like he has like his own.
Grown.
He's grown into his own character. Like there was one. It was like a Halloween episode, and he was like an emo. He was like an emo basketball player. It was oh my god, it was so. And he did like they just don't even understand me. Like looking at a one eye. It's just. Oh my gosh. I love it.
With Tyreek is I didn't like him as a character when he was Janine's boyfriend. Like I thought he was a little bit annoying. Like you can tell that the show was eventually going to the fact that they were no longer going to be together. And obviously they were pushing her and Gregory like to be together. And obviously as we get through the seasons, it's a slow burn to get to that point. However, once he's no longer the boyfriend to Janine, then he's able to be his own character and his inclusion. Because you think at some point, like, oh, you're just the boyfriend. You whenever you fulfill your purpose, you're going to leave. But they keep bringing him back into the fold, and it is great.
You know, he kind of reminds me. Now that you just mentioned it in that context, he kind of reminds me of like Andy Dwyer on Parks and Rec. Like at first, he was the boyfriend. And then once they broke up, he still kind of lingered around. He kind of grew into his like own character. I kind of get the same vibe with him with Tariq and Abbott Elementary.
And then the opposite effect. I forgot the character's name, but when Pam was either the boyfriend or married in The Office, like this was like a side character that was just there, kind of just being not great for Pam, and obviously they were pushing. What's
Roy? What's his name?
Roy, but who was Pam and
Jim?
Jim, thank you. Obviously they were pushing that romance throughout the season or throughout the series, but Roy was like this lingering, like, oh, I'm married to this person. But Roy was never really involved once they broke up or got divorced or whatever they were together. Like once he fulfilled that purpose, he kind of left, and then they really focused on Jim and Pam. But in this case, they found comedic ways to bring him back, probably because he was an entertaining character.
Yeah.
But yeah, Abbott Elementary, great
It's
show.
solid show, solid sitcom.
Yeah,
It's probably the one of the main things that's keeping ABC on primetime. Like,
yeah, no kidding.
and that's the other thing. Like, this is a primetime show. This is not a streaming
Yeah.
show. This is a primetime show that gets put on streaming, and it's just as good. You don't see a lot of primetime shows like being able to withstand like against all these streaming shows and to be
No,
as
and
big as
this,
it is.
yeah, and also to be from ABC from a time where they had the Goldbergs, Modern Family.
Hmm.
They there was a what's the other one? Damn, with Anthony Blackish.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, they had so many of those like classic like sitcom comedies, and they had their own slew of success, and that has gone away. All those shows are no longer on the air anymore, and yeah, I feel like Abbott Elementary is still holding on strong to that cable network success. As
yes,
much as the notoriety and the success it's been getting compared to when it's still being nominated at the Emmys, and it being nominated against every other show that's on streaming, and
it's
has the
true.
more flexibility to do more things. And Abbott Elementary is still sticking to the traditional sitcom format, and it's working well. Another show that I know you've mentioned that I just started watching is St. Dennis Medical, and I think it's doing the exact same thing for NBC, even though it's not getting the full accolades yet, as far as like being recognized at Emmys. But it's still taking that mockumentary format, just giving you a different setting, and it works every time.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing is that the mockumentary sitcom just works, especially
Just
in a
works.
workplace environment. And we're going to talk about the other show that's literally exactly the same,
Yeah.
mockumentary style, like in actually the direct sequel. When we talk about the paper, like it's the exact same, but it just works. Just works.
It works so well, and it's like it's such a very fluid way of telling a story. We're almost used to it, and we have The Office to thank for it because we've gotten so many great shows using the same format for years now, and it's still a valuable way to kind of tell comedy. And then obviously then the performers on top of that as well,
Yeah,
like the characters make the show, but still,
very
like
true.
it's still an effective way of you know having a comedy show.
But yeah, and then you want to go on yours, and then we can hit our list.
Yes. So stepping away from comedies, this is definitely not that. Um, this over the summer, 20th Century came out with a sequel ish to Predator, also directed by Dan Trachtenberg, who did Prey, and is also doing Predator Badlands that comes out in November. Out of nowhere, this was a secret project that he was working on, and it had to be working on for quite some time because this whole thing is animated. Predator Killer of Killers is a breezy, action-packed, 90-minute pure enjoyment
Oh, okay.
of this franchise. It is so good. And honestly, I'm watching this, I'm like, Dan Trachtenberg is the fucking man right now. He understands this Predator series frontwards and backwards. Like coming off of Prey, like I'm so ready for what he has to bring in for Badlands because this movie was intense. It's I believe I'm not sure if there's a rating on it, but it's definitely, if anything, either TVMA or rated R, depending on how they view this as. It's rated R. Okay, so they take it as a movie. This is basically taken as an anthology series within the movie, and you follow three separate stories for the most part. And it's basically seeing the predator in the environment of like the time of Vikings, the time of like ninjas, and then like World War II of like an airplane fighter. And it's like seeing how the predator navigates through that. And then the last 15 minutes kind of takes all those stories together and does a really good job kind of giving us what more about what the predators are about. and really understanding that, and then also throwing in some like major Easter eggs for like the Predator franchise as a whole. Like drop some like I think it expands the lore better than any other movie has so far. Like this is for me, in a weird way, the origins of what the Predator is all about. And you took these three separate stories and you connected it together, as well as it fits into the larger Predator timeline of what's been going on these last couple of years. This man understands the Predator, and this movie is insane. The action alone is worth your time.
Well, I'm all for it because Prey was phenomenal. Prey was such a
Yeah.
great movie, which we reviewed. But you said it is a sequel to Predator, like the original. Like, does it is it based like do you think that you need to watch Prey or Predator to watch this and understand it?
No, absolutely not. You don't need to watch anything.
Okay.
Like you just need to understand the basics idea of what a predator is, and even if you don't, it kind of somewhat explains it. But it it's like the predator is hunting its prey.
Yeah.
That's it's very simple, and that's what it's doing. And basically, it starts off in the beginning of kind of explaining that the predator, for the most part, it's just looking for who the strongest person is, and then choosing that as its prey, and then trying to kill it,
Yeah.
whatever that is. And so, and that kind of falls in line with everything else. And like you have, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, uh, I believe was the strongest person in that environment. I honestly, it's been a long time since I've seen that movie. But like, it's just the predator just doing its thing. And in this case, it's more in this world and seeking out the best of the best
Mm.
and seeing ways that these people interact when a predator comes into their viewpoint. And it's taking place through different moments of time period, but more importantly, like again, the action in this, the ways that they like animated this, it's so fun to watch. There were so many moments where I'm like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Like it was like all that throughout most of the movie. It was really, really cool. If you're a fan of the Predator and you want something to kind of like scratch that itch between Prey and Predator Badlands, this is a fantastic watch. It's like there isn't a lot of animated movies that came out this year, but this is up there as like one of the best I've seen this year.
Wow, that's high
Um,
praise. All right.
yeah, yeah. And the other thing that I've watched was a few documentaries. Jaws at 50, the definitive inside story. It's from National Geographic. It's on Disney Plus, and it's kind of like a 90-minute story of the making of Jaws. A very interesting movie. It's crazy that Jaws is now 50 years old. A lot of re-releases coming out, a lot of merch and stuff like that. A lot of praise for the Jaws movie. But if you're interested to see like a kind of more, I feel like this. If you're familiar with the behind the scenes, I don't think it does any dive deeper into getting more insight. I think it's just taking a lot of that information that we kind of already know and compiling it into one 90-minute like piece. And yeah, I think it's a I was just curious, this is very much cemented into our cinematic history as being one of the first blockbusters to kind of defy how we go to the movies during the summer. And yeah, it's an interesting take. And then another documentary that I watched that I feel like I've been waiting to watch, because I knew I was going to cry when I was watching this, and I did. And this movie came out last November and has been sitting on my list for a while. I feel like I have to be emotionally ready for this because I love music scores, and John Williams is one of the best. And so hearing his story and kind of giving like a pretty lengthy, like almost an hour and 50-minute documentary about his career, the struggles he's went through, um, and the impact that he's had on in cinema and Hollywood and music in general. And one of the most fascinating things that I've heard throughout all this was like doing movies scores for music. Doing music for movies was like frowned upon in the music world. It's almost like you don't have to diminish yourself to do that when you can be doing like classical music and like performing and all that stuff. It was like looked down upon, and John Williams was the one to kind of break that barrier of like, no, this is an art form in and of itself that kind of lives in the artistry of orchestral music. And he was the one that kind of gave that, like there's not really a line anymore. It's kind of all fit into one. And so kind of interesting to see, that perspective of it. But again, if you're interested in movie music, especially ones from John Williams, he's had so many successful ones. I definitely give that a watch. Um, yeah, it definitely brought me to tears, and I knew it was going to, but I was ready for it.
You were ready for it.
I was ready for it. But yeah, that's this separately. That's what I've been watching. But now we're going to be diving into a nice slew of stuff that we've both been watching. And a documentary. I had a lot of people talking when it came out this past August, end of August, early September. Was Unknown Number, the high school catfish. I remember this was getting a lot of buzz, and when I saw it, I was like, "Holy shit!"
This was fucking crazy. So, like, it didn't go like. Okay, so I mean, we can talk spoilers. Like, you find
Yeah.
out
Yes.
that the mom is the catfish, and there's speculation that she was the main and only one, even though I guess she says that she wasn't, and she just picked it up in the end. But how crazy is it that this poor child's mother was the main one who was like tormenting her and saying probably the most insane shit you can say to like children. Like, these are kids that you're saying this shit to. Like,
Yeah.
it blew my mind. Although I had an idea in the beginning, because they opened the documentary with saying like, we live in a small town, everybody knows everybody, and everybody's in everybody's business. And when they couldn't figure out who it was in the kids, it's when basically the principal's being investigative reporter, like checking the time of the texts and like looking in the hallways, watching the cameras to see if anybody's on their phone. I go, it's probably one of the parents. And not only is it one of the parents, it was the parent. And like, when you find out like why she knows, she goes into why she was hurt and that she wanted to be there for her daughter. It's like, I understand how you mentally got there. Like, I understand how you worked your way to get to that logic where if I torment my daughter, I can be her savior. And like, we see that, she was like the main one, like, well, what happened today? Like, it becoming like the thing, like she became addicted to this thing. And it was crazy to see this story unfold. Even like, I was telling my wife, even to the point where like, when the cops basically find out, the FBI investigating, they track her IP address to that it was that it was her phone, that it was definitely her. And like, they're telling this in front of her daughter, and like, she goes and like hugs on her daughter. I just thought that part was so interesting. Like, you're the one causing all this pain, but you're sitting there and you're trying to console this poor little girl who's being tormented by you. Like, you can no longer be the savior. Like, why do you think that you have the right to do this to this poor baby? Like, granted, that's your daughter, and that's what you naturally want to be there for her. But it was, to me, I give so much kudos to her husband, because he's like, you need to leave, because I'm going to do something that's going to get me in trouble. Like, I think it's best if you leave. Like, that man is so level-headed and just clearly wanted to take care of his little girl. And like, it killed me. Like, when you learn that fact that it is this little girl's mom, it's crazy. And even in the end, where she's like, we're slowly building our relationships. Like, how heartbreaking is that you have to be the bigger person and offer that forgiveness to your mother. Like, you're still learning how to be a human being, and you have better forgiveness than most adults. Yeah. Right? Like that. Like, that was kind of like my takeaway from that.
The whole documentary is interesting, even the way that it was presented, because obviously, like, they're interviewing the mother quite early on, and this is a part that sometimes I don't like about documentaries, because it's very much misleading, because we don't know who this catfish is. So like, the way that the conversations have been going and the way it's presented to us, it makes it seem like there's this big reveal, when the mother was being interviewed, asking specific questions and kind of lying in a way, just for the sake of dramatization of this documentary, of like, how'd you feel in these moments, and like, because at the end of the day, it was her that was doing it, but you were asking questions. Well, before it was you, how are you feeling in these moments when you were consulting your daughter? Like, again, misleading the audience to an extent. However, I thought it was presented very well. Like, the way that, with my tiny gripes with that type of aspect of it, and that's all documentaries
I
that do
agree
that.
with you though. Yeah, I
Not
totally
all
see what you're saying.
documentaries, but like the ones that are like obviously intentionally not giving you information for the dramatization of the documentary to have you go along the story as it's happening chronologically. And then on top of that, because you're interviewing the person, so that's even more of like a like that's why probably when you're watching it, you rule out the mother because she's talking about it, so it can't be her, right? And then even when we hear about it, even when the FBI is like the IP address followed to the mother, you still don't believe it because the whole time I'm watching this, I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm waiting for an explanation.
Yeah,
And the problem with this documentary is that, and this is probably because there isn't one. I was waiting for a reasonable explanation, and I feel like we never got it because she was like, "Well, now I'm here to tell my own story." And you told your own story and you made it worse. You made it
yeah,
worse for yourself when you decided to keep like here's why I did this. And then it was like when they interviewed the sister or the mother's sister, they were like, that again, basically what you were saying, like I wanted to be the savior, but there's still a lot of things that just doesn't add up to that logic of the main part for me was that she was reaching out to the girl that her now ex-boyfriend was talking to in a
and that
different
girl's mother, right? And that girl's mother.
and the girl's mother. And so like if you're only focusing about your daughter, why are you going out of your way to torment other children?
Yeah,
Like the daughter makes sense. Like doing all well, it doesn't make sense. But in the context of this documentary and her mental state, I can see the dots connecting to that logic of like I'm going to torment my daughter so I can be the savior she goes to. Like I get that. But and then also I understand tormenting your daughter's boyfriend because that's part of this whole plan. However, tormenting your daughter's ex-boyfriend of a girl that he's talking to from out of this town, that part just never lines up to me.
and I think that that ties into the other part of it, which was more speculation, was that she was obsessed with this little boy.
Right.
I think his name was Owen, because even the mom would say like she would even after they broke up, she would go to his meets. She would like even he said like it's weird, like she would like cut his food for him and like always like seek his like always see. I think the way she worded it was like she was always seeking his approval, and it's like
Mhm.
think about the things that she was saying to her daughter about how this boy wants her, and it's like she even said like I felt like I was a different person. Like I actually believe that. I think that
Mhm.
when she was texting and like she was, because she's not in her reality, so she's like
Yeah.
in the phone as like pretending to be this other person, but like in actuality she's becoming this other person, where like she thinks that she has a chance with this boy. Like I think she tried to become this persona that she perceived herself to be, to try to get closer to this boy, which
Yeah,
is
it's
crazy. It's so crazy.
and all of it is very disturbing. And there's also an area where there is a like again, I'm looking for like a logical explanation, and I don't really get one. There's a lot of mystery on why the mother decided to even do this. She said that she didn't start it, but she continued it, and there's no evidence that anyone else has started this conversation.
Yeah.
Or and I think that's a lie in my opinion. But I just find it because there was a year gap between the initial messages and then the ones that were ongoing.
Yeah.
So, like the fact that it happened once and then a year later sounds like, oh, I'm just going to continue doing that. It seems a little off for me.
Well, it seems like she missed the thrill. Like she missed the high of like
Yeah,
of being a part of the investigation and being her daughter's savior. I mean, and she talks about how she was abused, and that I think that that tracks given like the things that
yeah,
she was saying to them and kind of the mindset that she was portraying. But also, it's very that people who are hurt other people, or hurt people hurt people. So
hurt people. Yeah,
in it's true. Like people who tend to have been hurt previously in their lives, they tend to be the main abusers moving forward. Like
hmm
that's just how like the cycle of abuse works. Now, what this woman just clearly, she just needed help. She needs help,
yeah.
but that doesn't take away from the fact of what she did. I actually thought she should have went to jail. I don't think she went to jail for very long. I think
No, it was only like a year and a half.
which is crazy, because this is basically like Like you're sexually harassing minors. Like you should be
Yeah,
going to jail for much longer than that. Like this is that
yeah,
to me the craziest part. Granted, all the shit she did was crazy, but the craziest part is that she basically got away with it, and now she's just kind of like back in the community after she just ruined all these little kids' lives. Like they should be worrying about like prom and like stupid school stuff, and not being catfished by an adult saying like the most inappropriate things you can say to children.
yeah. And then again, the one that was being like heavily involved in the investigation, trying to find out who. And clearly, at this time, she was just trying to be so involved because she was the one that was doing it. She wants to know where they were at in their investigation.
I
And
think
like,
no, go ahead.
good, good.
I was just gonna say that there's two things that really broke my heart more than anything, and I think it was when she finally met Owen's mom in court
Mm,
because like you're supposed to be like best friends with this woman. Like you guys had
yeah,
this rapport with each other, not only with your kids dating and being together, but after the fact when you're in this investigation, like this woman thought like you were her friend. Like she brought you into her home. Like she trusted to bring you into her family, and she like fucking wrecked that. And also that woman's husband, like we were kind of talking about before, like this poor man, like they had to move so many times. He thinks his wife's taking care of the bills. Like his man, he's just like, listen, I just want to go to work. Like I just want to take care of my kid. And this bitch got me moving three. And when she put all their stuff in storage and she couldn't pay for the unit, and they
yeah,
sold all their shit. And like you could just hear it in his voice. He's like, everything I've collected my whole life was gone. And like I had to explain it to my wife. I was like, that's like storage wars. If you don't pay it, they will
yeah,
literally cut the lock and sell your shit. Like they don't care.
yeah.
They'll sell it,
That
open it, and just re rent that unit out.
you make a good point because I totally forgot about that aspect of it. Yeah, you have the husband who was blindly. You had a wife that wasn't working and
Yeah.
said that she was working, so she was lying on that front. And then I don't know. For me, the husband should be more involved with your finances. If you had to move, you're telling me
Yes.
this whole time you were negligent about how the finances were going into your house. Like, yeah, I just gave her money and she took care of the bills. That can go only so far in my head. If that was the deal that I had with my spouse, that I just give you money and you handle everything. But when things start going south to the point where you have to move to a different house, I'm like, well, hold up. What's going on here? What's going on? The fact that he never really moved forward with that is like, oh, if she says we have to move, we have to move. That is crazy to me.
That I mean that but that to me that mentally I think that plays to a level like he trusted his wife. Like
So much.
he just but that's the thing, like he trusted her, like he gave his wife like the most utmost trust, which obviously he shouldn't, because his wife was a crazy person and did all kinds of crazy shit, and like ruined the lives of like so many people,
Yeah.
and should have. But I mean, you don't know what you don't know. Like he just like, oh well, we have to move, and like maybe just things aren't working out. But she said, it's I think it's that layer of trust. Like he's just like, well, this seems fucking weird, but she says we're okay, so
Yeah.
I mean, I guess. But I mean, after the second time we moving out, it's like, listen, I'm the one who has to physically move all this shit. It's like,
Yeah.
let's talk about it. Like, you're gonna have to teach me. We're gonna have to figure this out together. Oh, let's see how much you're bringing in.
Yeah.
Oh, you're bringing in $0? Well, then that's a problem.
Oh, wait a minute.
You don't have a job?
I see let me look at the finances. Okay, me. Huh.
Direct deposit. All me. Wait, where's yours? Oh,
I don't see a lot of greens in this bank account. I'm seeing a lot of reds. Not seeing a lot of greens.
Where are you going every day? Are you not?
It's like, oh, my company, huh. That's are you in a different account? Like, what's this all the finances we got? I don't see where's your income? Where's your driving fact? Oh my
Just
God.
her commitment to the lie. Like they were talking like
Yes.
you would get up and go to work. Where are you going? Like what are you doing?
Yeah, so true. And then again, it goes as far as you're forcing your family to move into an unstable like not unstable, but like, well, I mean, a lot of it eventually it came unstable. But like, you're moving your family into new homes and to adjust for your life
Yes, for what
and
you're
for
doing.
yeah, it's crazy to see that how far it went and how people are just not paying attention. There's a lot of layers to this. And to your point, you made a great, excellent point. Not only was she affecting her daughter's life and like just like in the surrounding area, like her daughter, the boyfriend, and her husband, but she was also affecting the neighbors, the whole community was
Yes,
like, and then even questioning the daughter herself if this was even true, because there's a point when I'm watching this, I'm like, the daughter's involved, or she's the one that's doing it herself. But yeah, I mean, again, to even go down that line of questioning like the victim, I was like, oh, I think this is all self indulgent. And then you even see again the daughter's like, well, she's still my mom. What?
but she's
It's
right though. But and that's what I mean.
yeah,
Kudos to this young lady who has a level of forgiveness that so many adults can even dream about having. Like
yeah,
to have, I mean, this she was wronged in so many ways by the one
yeah,
person who's not supposed to do that. Like you're literally the one person who's supposed to never wrong your child.
absolutely.
Like your mom.
It's
It's
it's a crazy
it's
documentary.
unconscionable what this woman did to her child. I
Yep.
just there's like you can be hurt, like we all go through shit, but there's just certain like you should look at your kid and go, I had this horrible shit happen to me. Like, what am I going to do to make sure it doesn't happen? And I think maybe in her head, that's where she was trying to come from. But
Yeah.
but there's no way. Like, I just, there's just no justification. Like you have scarred your daughter for life in ways that she's going to have to deal with years later on that we don't even know what could be a factor.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's a crazy documentary, and there's a lot of factors just on face value of what the story was presented. But there's so many more things that you can pick apart in that documentary of like, how did this get to this? And it just feels weird and like it's it's a crazy experience. And again, Netflix did a good job, or whoever, to kind of put the story together. Definitely one. I mean, we talked a lot about it, but definitely one to check out if you haven't already.
I think that it is worth the watch. It's what, an hour and a half long. Like
Yeah, it's pretty quick.
it's worth your time. It's definitely worth your time.
100%. All right, let's stray away from documentaries and look at some of the shows that we've been keeping up with. This was on me. It took me a while to get to get to this. I was extremely late, and it's funny because the term late. There's so many shows going around, and like now I'm trying to put focus back on a show that is no longer active. It's done. The season was finished back in March or early April, and now I'm getting to it a few months back. Like the talk around it is no longer there. But a show that you were more or less keeping up with at the time it was releasing, right? Or did you
Kind of.
just binge it afterward?
We binged it afterwards, but it was soon after. It was like maybe a month or
Yeah.
two after it had dropped. We watched the whole thing.
Yeah, but I finally got around to watching season 3, and it was definitely, in my opinion, the weaker of the 3 seasons.
I agree.
I think there was a lot of style over substance. In
Mm,
the sense of like you are understanding. I believe his name is Mike White, who's the creator of the show. He's definitely understands the aesthetic
hmm
of what these shows are, the look and the feel of it, and it's still very much prominent there. But I feel like the conversations, more often than not, led nowhere. These characters, more or less, maybe found growth, but not really.
hmm
And no one you're really rooting for in this scenario. They're all kind of just not necessarily bad people, but they all have their motives, and uh, uh
Like
throughout this.
morally ambiguous.
Yes, like I think what the series does well is that you were experiencing everybody in their gray area, where they're not
Yeah.
necessarily bad people, but they were brought up in more cases by privilege, and we saw that a lot in this season.
hmm
And seeing when things don't go their way, how do they handle those situations? Or you have, in some cases, you have a few shady people, and trying to go on the other side of being a better person, but everyone's kind of living in that gray area, and the White Lotus hotel brand kind of brings out this pheromones to kind of have people have all these moral questions about themselves and the situations that they're in. And that's the reason why you watch the show. But ultimately, like from start to finish, it wasn't as gripping as the other seasons were. And I also forgot that there was a murder. I forgot this was the whole reason why this show even existed, because you were trying to figure out who died and how we led up to the murder. But like the murder was mentioned at the beginning of the season, and then we had all of this stuff happen, and then the last 15 minutes I was like, "Oh yeah, someone did die. I forgot about that."
Yeah,
And then
it kind of just happened at the end. Like we kind of
yeah,
just snowballed, like especially like the last two episodes. I'm trying to remember the thing I remember most. I actually enjoyed was the dynamic between the three women, the three
mm,
friends who were there on vacation. I felt like it was really interesting. Like there was like some backstabbing between them, like talking behind each other's backs, and kind of like their difference in viewpoints and how they viewed the world, but yet they
mhm.
still wanted to maintain their friendship. To me, like I don't really remember much, but I felt like to me that was the most interesting aspect of this last season.
Which is interesting. The fact that you don't remember much, it just goes to show how much the show, like that season, had an impact on
Yeah, like
you.
Walton Goggins was fine. Like I felt
Yeah,
like they were like those performances were good, but it was like to me that out of all the things to remember, I feel like that was the most memorable. I mean, there's a lot of drama in the end when the son died, like the son almost dying, and
right.
the smoothie, and like doing like the father like trying to do like this suicide, like forcing his family into suicide
Yeah,
almost.
that was weird.
Yeah, it was a little strange.
A
And then
little
this,
strange. I mean, the show inherently is strange, but that aspect of it, and there was a lot of time invested into Oscar Isaac potentially, you know, committing suicide, as well as, uh, you know, just killing off his family because they say that they can't live a non-privileged life. And his wife was just obnoxious as hell, and the actress who played her did a really good job of that.
yeah, she's good. She's good. Yeah, it was fine. It was.
Yeah, there's not much really to explore. I'll be in for the next season. I think also a lot of the allure of this show is like, what's the next ensemble cast you decide to bring together? But honestly, they should really just stray away from the murder. I know that's the whole stick of the whole season of what the show is. There's always a murder involved, but like you don't really need it at all, because clearly you're not focusing on it. It's not
Yeah.
like, because I remember the first season that was like, oh, somebody died, and I felt that the whole point of the show was trying to figure out like who's the one that's going to die at the end. But then that's not what the show is about. And I feel like if that's not what your show is about, then why include it in here in the first place? Like
Yeah.
it's a good stick that you've used, but you don't need to rely on it. You can move on to something else. Like in my opinion, like just
Yeah.
continue focusing on these characters that you put in these hotel environments. Like
Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna be like I may check it out, but I'm not gonna go like seeking it out. Like I feel like the show is losing its appeal. That makes
interesting.
sense.
So like once season 4 comes out, you're like, maybe if I get to it, we'll see. We'll see how it looks and feels and all that stuff.
I mean, yeah, I mean, even with this one, it was like, oh yeah, it's done. Yeah, we could binge that. We're kind of in between shows, and then we binged it, and then we moved on, and then
Yeah.
we haven't really talked about it since.
Yeah, 100%. I understand. 100% understand that. But yeah, a show that kind of came and went. It received a few nominations at the Emmys, but ultimately didn't win anything. And yeah, I think as of right now, if it continues to be, it's definitely lost its luster,
Yeah,
and I feel like it needs to make a big change in order to, you know, probably grab the audiences back and get them hooked again. Even though, like in that sense, there's like this show has the platform and the environment to do that because it's an anthology series. So you can change it up next season very easily. It's just depending on if you want to do that or not is the question.
but at this
Um,
point, they probably won't give up the murder point because I feel like that's like
yeah,
the main shtick of the season, like figuring out the murder.
not really though. Not really.
We'll
Clearly,
see.
you have other things in mind.
Well, we'll see. We have the one returning character who
Yes,
she was in. I don't remember if she was in the first season, but she was
she was.
definitely she was in the first and second season, right?
Yeah, it's probably the only storyline that's been continuous throughout the whole series. So she's just bouncing around. She got to stop staying at the White Lotus. She's
Like,
just.
I think you
But
need
then
to
again,
work
I
for
feel
another
like they
company.
could wrap up her character because she kind of went off. She struck a deal with that dude, got her millions, and started. She was on a boat of happiness. So maybe they can retire that character from now on.
That's true. That's true too. Like she's seen enough crazy shit that like maybe if we see her again, she's back only as a guest.
Right, right. Maybe yeah, that's a good point. Maybe she is a guest at the White Lotus, but maybe technically this season she was as well. She was
See,
like
because
some
that would actually be a really interesting point for them because they would always look at like different types of wealth, and this would be like newfound wealth, like somebody
mhm,
who's poor and now they're like filthy rich, and
right.
them kind of like coming into that lifestyle, like I think that would be to me that would be an interesting aspect that we could explore. But
Yeah.
it's got to
Well,
be, but it can't be. That can't be the sole focus. Like it's gonna have to be some kind of ensemble, very
of
similar to
course,
what they do. If they do something like that, then I'd be on board for it.
time will tell.
Time will tell.
As the even the poster says right there, same
Oh,
luxury, new reservation. Yeah, that
yes,
sounds about right.
yes.
uh, yeah. Anyway, all right, let's move on to The Paper, which is a spin-off from the creators of The Office. The same people behind the scenes came back to kind of give us a different, same mockumentary style, focusing on a different workplace environment. In this case, it's in the world of The Office, but we're getting focusing on a small local newspaper company. And it's on Peacock. All 10 episodes dropped all at once. So, yeah, I really liked it.
I love it. I thought it was hilarious. I think it's great. It's a little slower than The Office,
Yeah,
um, but I'm here for it. I'm totally here
I
for it. I think it's really funny.
I think they did a really good job kind of cementing within the first 10 minutes of what this show is. It's like, hey, we're the same documentary crew that did The Office. And now, 20 whatever years later, we're looking for like an update. And then they go to the building and it's not really there anymore. And then they're continuing their documentation of like, okay, then where did this go? What this turn into? And they're like, oh yeah, that paper company, yeah, it got sold. Like it's now under this, this big, they got bought out by this company. They went to go search for that, and now we're kind of still involving with the paper, but the paper now turns into a newspaper, a local newspaper, and it was kind of a fun way to kind of connect the dots without really needing any information about the office, but just more or less you're putting the focus on the documentary crew that was in the office rather than the characters itself. And then bringing back Oscar is just a nice bonus because he has a pretty prominent role in this series, and I love his play with the camera because as soon as they come, he's like, "No, not this again. I don't consent. I'm not doing this." And then it just literally cuts to black with text on the screen saying like he's like his he signed his what was it? Some like basically he signed to be in this documentary in perpetuity that like there was no end
Yeah,
to his contract on how long this documentary is. And so and there was a lot of moments where like the documentary itself was recognized in the show.
oh
Like as
yeah,
far as like as a character in the show. Like
yes.
there was a lot of moments where it was treated as a documentary, where like sometimes they would just cut to a black screen with white text explaining a situation as if a documentary would. So I like that they're leaning more on that side of it. And then the humor within these characters, it's so good.
Like the chemistry just I think they work really well together, and we're seeing a lot of similar vibes. I mean, we have
Yeah.
the main character, he's kind of like a Michael Scott, but he's also kind of like a it's almost kind of like Jim and Pam between him and Mayor. Like they've kind of mixed those two characters together, and like Ken and Esmeralda are kind of like the Michael Scotts of The Office.
Yeah, the Esmeralda is an interesting character for me because I think it's going to take time for me to like her. And I think very similar to Michael Scott where in my opinion very annoying at first
Yes.
and like very obnoxious and the humor sometimes doesn't always land. But if the show is able to grow and is afforded to grow, then I think we can maybe learn and have that character be more flushed out. because it was just a mix between I want to be the center of attention and she wants to sabotage the paper. And those two things to me didn't always land as comedic. Um, like it wasn't as funny for just you to be either obnoxious or the center of attention or seeking to destroy the paper. Sometimes there are funny moments in there, but I feel like for the most part, like either you found her annoying or you felt sorry for her in certain episodes. And then you have the other guy, what's his name? Ken,
Ken Davies.
who Ken Davies, who was like this manager esque role. I don't really know what his purpose is for the most part, and like because obviously the paper is like a secondary thing to their work, and I feel like he was also like in the ploy of trying to um, sabotage the paper, but at the same time was willing to take credit when it did well.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we saw that
Um,
at the end of the season with the awards.
yes,
Which
which
I will say I really like the season, and I actually like. So it's funny, we were talking about Abbott Elementary, and we were talking about Greg and Janine, how that like their relationship has been a slow burn, and I
yeah,
felt that for what's the main character's name?
this would be Ned
Ned.
and Mare.
Ned and Mare, where like I felt like that's what they were going to do, especially given how that episode was ending until like literally the last 2 minutes of the entire season, where
Yeah,
they finally kiss, and it's like, well, that's kind of refreshing that we're not gonna this is not gonna be something that we've seen in all these other shows where it's this known romance that you're gonna set up to be the romance of the show, and like we're getting it right from the beginning. Unless
right.
their relationship is just going to cause issues right from the beginning, and they're going to have to break up, and it's going to kind of be I could foresee it being a back and forth thing, especially since he kind of mentions it at the end of it being like, this could be an issue of us trying to further the paper if they see us as a relationship. Like, what if we're
Right.
going to come back after the season break and they're going to be together, but then now people don't take the paper as seriously because their relationship has been blasted all over the internet by like that kid who
Yeah,
hates.
the kid. But also, I can see them going down a route was like they have like this heated moment and where they kissed, and then the next season starts, and it's like they're still not together, but they're still
Mm.
thinking about that moment, and then we're going to be lingering on that moment for half a season.
I could kind of see that too. I
Yeah,
could like in the office, it's like a big elephant in the room. Like everybody
right.
knows, but then like it's just something that nobody talks about. I could see that going that route too. That'd be pretty funny. But
Yeah,
either way, another mockumentary like work sitcom that it just, and this is a literal direct connection to The Office. I mean, we've seen a reference. I mean, I think there was an episode where after Oscar creates the game for the paper, he calls
yes,
Stanley on the phone. And like he's
yes,
talking, like
yeah,
we don't hear from him, but it's made mention that he's talking about Stanley. And even in the end, in the finale, he mentions a Michael Scott quote to Ned, and I think it was it for the award ceremony? I think
yeah. No, it was. He was. I think they were at the bar,
that's right.
and he was giving him like words of advice.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So that I'm okay with that. Like I don't need it. I don't need a cameo from every Office member every episode, but
Right.
like little nods here and there, I think will work.
Yeah, the connection is there if they wanted to, but the show definitely doesn't need it.
And I think
Like I
that's what's
think
important. That's what's important, is that it doesn't need the show is good enough where it doesn't need it to survive.
Yeah, and it has a great like diverse cast where like we're hitting a lot of angles that they could explore. And I like the startup of this like once well-known paper company. And I think if the show can thrive, we can see these group of individuals actually caring about journalism and moving
Yes.
forward with that. And because right currently you have a group that doesn't give a shit, and
Yeah.
then there's also antics that are involved with that. But then we can see this show grow into having a nice, form, tight knit community of people. And I think that could turn into something really special because there's also a lot of heartwarming moments in this show as well, which I also enjoyed. Again, a nice blend of the comedy, the drama, and a good sense of like bringing like a nice diverse cast kind of brings it all together to be like yeah like I think this show could have benefited from like I feel like it was just so quick because it was like uh um all 10 all 10 episodes were dropped all
Yeah,
at once.
10
And
episodes.
yeah, 10 episodes. And I feel like that, like I binge it so quickly, and now I have to wait longer for that. I feel like they could have easily done week to week, but I guess with Peacock and how the show is doing, just a binge model was probably the better approach. But it was just such easily digestible. I just wished at this point, I just wish there were more episodes. Shows like that, like this, live on cable. Like you're used to getting 18 plus episodes per season. I just feel like 10 was just so short.
It
But that's
was on
that's
the
the streaming
shorter
world
end.
for you.
Yeah, it was on the shorter end. And but I do feel like very similar to Abbott, where like the episodes are so digestible, where like you can go
Hmm.
back and you can just kind of rewatch. Like I really liked when the journalism students came and they were interviewing them, and like they have done more than the people. They're like, she's like, on my 2 articles. He's like, you've only written 2 articles. He's like,
Yeah,
I'm a freshman and I've written like 100. He gave some like big ass number. He's like, well, do you think we can go to your school and shadow you? And like they just look at the camera like, are you fucking kidding me? Like
yeah,
I thought that was, I mean, that's gold. I mean, I thought that was so funny. I thought that was such a great episode.
yeah. There's a lot of great moments in it, and I really hope they have the time to explore these characters and kind of push out on this idea. And what's funny that is that I guess to fill out NBC's fall release schedule, the paper is is streaming not streaming, but is going to be aired weekly um, on NBC.
That's interesting. That's really so almost going the other way, like
Yeah,
starting on
the complete
streaming
yeah.
and then going to network TV. That's good. That's
Which
really
which
good.
they've done this before, just now, not recently. Like especially during the pandemic, when you have all these shows that are on streaming, especially for the company streaming platform, they're like, we need a show to fill out the fall schedule or the spring schedule. They take an already streaming show and then they put it on network television. I think they did the same thing way back many years ago with like when the CW was doing their DC shows and it was on like the
Mm,
DC network. They put out like Man Thing and not Man Thing, Swamp. It was
Swamp
Swamp
Thing.
Thing. Swamp Thing and like Titans eventually made their way to the CW as airing weekly. And I know other stations have done that as well. Other networks have done that as well. But this is somewhat very recent. Like I haven't seen it happen in a while. So that the fact that and it makes perfect sense. This show would perfectly fit into the NBC lineup
Hmm.
uh, very easily. So I'm curious to see how well it does on a network level, and then how well it does on streaming, and see season two. Where does it land? Is season two going to be on network now, and we're going to have more episodes, or we're going to stay to the streaming format and just have it all at once?
See, because
Like,
yeah, that's so true. I also think it's interesting that if it goes to network and people want to watch it week to week, do they wait week to week, or do you get a Peacock subscription and just binge the rest of the season? And you either use that as your free trial and then you stay,
yeah,
or do you still stick with the week to week, or do they notice the drop off, or like I'm very curious because that could affect their streaming numbers. They could get more subscribers just by putting it week to week for people who don't want to wait. Like, oh man, that was really good. It comes out next week, or I could sign up for this Peacock subscription and we can just knock this season out right now, and we can use our free trial and we can see what else Peacock has to offer.
yeah. Essentially, it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah,
Like, because to your point, at the end of every episode, they can be like all episodes now streaming on Peacock,
100%.
and then like, oh, I'm gonna go to Peacock to finish this because this is a good show. But either way, I think they have a good thing going for this show. I'm excited to see what's next. I hope it doesn't take like 2 to 3 years to get another season.
Yeah.
I hope we can just streamline. All right, next year we'll get another season, and then we'll move on with that. Um, but yeah, I think this is a great start and a great idea for a spinoff for The Office. I think this is like the best possible way they could have handled this without relying on the success of The Office.
Also, just additionally, like Donald Gleason as the main lead when like the last thing you see him in is the bad guy from Star Wars screaming at the troops. It's like how does this person be that? Like to me, that's the craziest part. Like this guy who was this villain, and like and he's just so polar opposite from that role. So it also kind of
Yeah,
speaks, I guess, in essence, it kind of speaks to him as an actor of how versatile he
yeah,
is.
for
Because
sure.
he was I thought he played a great villain in the Star Wars franchise. And for him to come over to
Yeah,
this to a completely different role, and he's able to kind of mold himself into this comedy role, it's great.
I'm pretty sure he was one of the older Weasley brothers, if I'm not mistaken.
Is that him?
And I'm double checking. Star Wars, yeah, General Hux, and 2011. Yep, he was Bill Weasley,
Wow.
and he don't know when he introduced. I'm only seeing 2011, so he was in the later movies that his character was shown on screen. But and also he's one of the few characters in Orlando, Florida, that has a character represented on two different attractions. From Universal, because his character is featured in Harry Potter and the Escape from Gringotts and Diagon Alley, and then also his character is featured in Disney's Hollywood Studios at Rise of the Resistance.
That's hilarious.
Chris Pratt is another one that's featured from the Jurassic World Velocicoaster, Universal, as well as the Guardians of the Galaxy attraction, Cosmic Rewind at Epcot.
That's
So,
right. That's right. That's right.
so when you got major franchises, make that money. That's all I'm saying.
Making that
But
money.
to your point, like having Donald Gleason, like it's for his comedian. Like when I first saw that, it's like, oh, that's an interesting choice.
Yeah.
I don't see him as a comedian, and he did a really good job playing like extremely funny character,
Yeah, he
but also
nailed it.
grounded in a way too.
And like he has like a Michael Scott essence, but like not fully.
Right.
Because I feel like they've taken and what I think and I think what works is that they're not. I feel like they kind of spread some of the best thing about certain those other characters, and they kind of spread them out through different people. Like I feel like you
Yeah.
get a little bit of that from Esmeralda and Ken, so it's not fully on him. So, but that gives him room to grow into this other like really thoughtful person, like really like leader, editor in chief, like kind of leading the charge and kind of being the voice of reason in this newsroom. So I kind of like it. I'm
Yeah.
here for it. I'm really here. I can't wait to see what next season brings.
100% agree with that. Next, we're gonna be stepping away from comedies and going into the sci-fi horror thriller vibe of Alien Earth. It premiered on Hulu, had about 8 episodes running weekly. I think that there was a lot of good things about this show
Uh-huh.
and a lot of misses about this show.
Okay.
In my opinion, I think this was a slow burn of a series that ultimately I was very disappointed with how the season ended, because I don't know exactly at the end of the day what was the point of this season, because it ended on a cliffhanger rather than like a period slash question mark. As like as a season as a whole, we didn't really complete our story, and now you're telling me I'm going to have to wait 2 years to see if we're going to continue with that, rather than giving me a complete season of an arc with a little bit lingering of what's happening next. And that was part one of my problem, and the secondary was that the aliens, the synths, the hybrid, the androids, like that storyline was the driver of this show. While some parts interesting, a lot of confusion on certain parts as well, which I don't think like that storyline ultimately landed on getting to the point of it without seeing more seasons to go off of it. And it didn't really align, in my opinion, much with the alien aspect of it, which was there's a certain community of the series that just wants to see Alien kill people.
Mm-hmm.
And even it offered that toward the beginning and then straight away from that toward the end. And I'm not saying the show needed it, but that was the only excitement in this show, in my opinion. The rest of it was a lot of dialogue, a lot of talking, a lot of world building that sometimes felt like it was amounting to something, and other times it didn't.
Interesting. I think I liked it a little bit more than you. So I thought it was. I agree with you. I don't think that. I think that they ended. Maybe they didn't end the storyline you wanted them to end, but I felt like they ended the storyline of like these synths. I guess, or are they the synths or
They're the
the
hybrid.
humanoids, the humanoid hybrids?
Yes.
I felt like we completed their storyline because it starts with these little, like literally the first episode, you spend seeing these little sick kids become these immortal humanoid things. So, but then we end with the season of them as a group, like grown into this group, and like Wendy's the leader, and like
Mhm.
she can speak alien and tell them to do whatever they want. So, like, so I see what you're saying. Like, maybe we didn't we didn't finish the Waitani, like them getting their monsters or like the ship crashing into the city. Like, none of that shit's resolved. But I felt like that aspect like we didn't resolve it, but we've kind of grown to a stopping point. Like it's a chapter end, not necessarily a season end, but it's an end to that part of the chapter. Like the part of this story, the chapter one is the humanoid, like the birth of these humanoids, of them from their inception up until their adult growth, I guess you would say. You know, going through like learning who they actually are, and then there was an interesting dynamic of her of just consciousness of like understanding of, are you this person or are you an uploaded version of this person? You have the same
Right.
consciousness, but are you? And I think in the end they came to where like though that they're neither. Like they have influence from all these different things, but in actuality there's something different. You are not those things anymore, because I think even Wendy at the end of the season, like she refers to that as like her dying and being reborn. Like she's not actually that person anymore.
Which is true, because that person as a human has died, but the consciousness lives on. So like it's that weird dynamic that, you know, and it's an interesting storytelling tactic of like, who are you? And they did that throughout
Yes.
the whole season with not just her and the humanoid and the hybrids, but for everybody on that show.
Yeah.
Like, who are you in the midst of this world? And a lot of human stories. And I like that about the show. I think that's like, again, one of the few aspects of it that I did enjoy when it got there. A lot of with the boy genius and Waylon Utani, when they were face to face in that conference room, gold. Like them
Yes.
having that back and forth was so good. Of like the bigger scheme of like, well, this is this is on my property, and all the context we're trying to save it, and this is a quarantine now. Like it was very well orchestrated. But I feel like these are random, not random, but like things that didn't always feel connected
Mm.
in the story we were trying to tell. Because even as much as I thought it was cool, the episode, I think halfway through the season, we got that flashback of what actually happened on the ship.
Hmm.
The only thing that came out of that, in my opinion, were two things. One, we got to learn more about the cyborg and like his backstory a little bit, because he once had a family, and then he went up to space on a 3-year long mission, and then his basically his daughter died in a fire, and it was tragic, and we got to a little bit know more about the human side of that character, and then we also found out that Boy Genius was involved in the crash that was planned to land on his property. But after that, then the appeal of the rest of that episode was just a classic alien nostalgia trip of like, here's an alien terrorizing a crew on a ship. We've seen it before. Here's an updated version of that. And story wise, it didn't serve much of a purpose, but visually it looked cool. And we saw that earlier in the season as well, like in the first two episodes when that alien was just kind of terrorizing the people who were after the crash landing, and where that alien was going. And then it kind of got resolved when, Wendy and other and like kind of killed it, and then all those species were brought into the lab, and then we were focusing more on that. And it was more of a psychological season of like understanding one another and where do we kind of fit into this narrative. But sometimes it just, especially with some of the hybrid stuff, it ultimately didn't land anywhere. And then for me to see the hybrids just like, okay, we've taken over the ship basically. Um, Now what? Like I learned how to talk to, like we gave Wendy these godlike powers of like I can talk to aliens, I can control them, and now I have you in prison in your own cage. And it's like, okay, great. What does that mean? What are you planning on doing with this
Mm,
thing that you have? I feel like there was no clear motive once we got there. At least for the brother, I understood that he wanted his sister back. So he
yeah.
wanted to get her out of this unsafe environment. Now Wendy's coming to her own and like, I want this. And now you got it. And the kids are just there, in my opinion. They're kind of thrown around throughout the season, but had very minimal growth, in my opinion. So I don't know what that means at the end of the day. That's why I was kind of disappointed with the ending
Mm.
because I feel like there was no like what do you what does that mean for the rest of the series and not in a good way. Like I don't know where you take that.
See, but I totally get that. But I think, at least for me, like the main thing was learning these humanoids, and I feel like everything else is like a setup for the universe. Because otherwise, why did we spend so much time? Like, why did we spend all that time as this octopus eye monster as this goat?
Right.
If not to learn that this thing is probably the most intelligent being that's on that ship, and like we get we get ominously close to him interacting, but it just seems like they spent the entire season us learning about him and setting him up to be a bigger bad in the next season because he takes over the dead guy, and like that's kind of like that was kind of like the end of that. But like we see him as this goat, we see him like take place in the killing of that one synth of the one humanoid, like by
Mhm.
how he banged on the glass, and kind of like just the way they would focus on this character, like watching everybody, but yet we learned zero things about this
Yep.
character. Like we knew that he knew the equation to pi by stomping on the ground and shitting on the floor. That's but through those things we were able to learn like, oh wow, that thing is smart as fuck. Like, but to me it was interesting to learn about the other beings, like
Yes.
besides our xenomorph, like that weird blood bag thing, or like the eye octopus thing, or like that plant thing that would eat you from the ceiling. I feel like I'm missing one.
There's a bug that ate metal.
That's right. That's right. The one
Yeah.
who ate the synth. That's right. The one
Yeah.
who would ate the synth. Like he
Which
was
which
like,
these are all cool creatures to introduce. But again, it amounted to the purpose of them being there was the one to be studied. We learned very little about them, and then they were just there to cause chaos
yeah,
once the doors were open. And it's like I wish we leaned more into that because I would like to see what is the purpose of these creatures, especially with the eyeball, because we really spent a lot of time with that eyeball. And you're like, oh, I can't wait to see this thing, which also seems to be the enemy of the alien to
yes,
some degree. And so, like, we also learned about that, and in like that flashback episode. So I thought we were gonna explore that toward the finale, and we didn't.
yeah,
So, like, I'm curious to see if that him going into the body of a human eventually, next time we see him, he can be more intelligent and he can talk and have these conversations and be more of a threat of a character. Like, it's it's interesting to see where that could go. But I thought we would have explored that in the end of the season,
it just
but
seems
we
like
didn't.
it just seems like that's all set up for season 2. But I felt like there was a lot there, but they it was more setup than it was execution. But I felt like it's still, for me it was still interesting enough that I'm coming back for I would definitely come back for season 2.
Yeah, I mean the look and the aesthetic and the feel like was all there. Like he got it right. It
Yeah.
looked gorgeous. Like the aliens looked so good. Like there's a lot to like about this show. I think ultimately it feels it's trapped in its own narrative.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where my biggest flaw is because like there was a lot of moments where I'm like, okay, this was a cool scene and this was a cool like kill and like these are cool things, but ultimately, what's the tying tissue, the connecting tissue that I want to like be fully invested in? And I just really wasn't as invested as I wanted to be in this show. And currently, there's not confirmed for a season 2 yet. So like that's a lot of exposition to throw in there for potentially not coming back again.
Yeah, if there's no season
Um,
2, then it's going to be very disappointing, because then that's a lot of setup and no execution. And I
and
did
it's a
think it
lot of
would
money too.
absolutely, and I thought it was. I do think it was interesting, just like and I think this is just more to the Alien franchise. Just the idea of
Yeah.
like government failing and these 5 companies coming into ruling the world. Because
Yeah.
I mean, we could see that. I don't think that's like a crazy idea. We could totally
Mhm.
see that in any reality. You know?
Right. 100%. Like again, a lot of good. Wished it was a little better.
Yeah.
Like it's there's a lot that's there. Maybe season 2 can fix some of that, in my opinion. But time will tell on if we're actually going to get a season 2.
Mm.
Um, and if we do, then I feel like, all right, now we're more interested to see where this story takes place because I do think that some of my problems could be resolved with a season 2. But time will tell on if we get that or not. But a lot of good stuff here. I also really like the cyborg and his journey through it. Like working with Weyland Yutani, having this history. Unclear exactly what his true motive is. If he's actually just here to work for Weyland Yutani, or if there's other ulterior motives for him personally. But some of the stuff that he was like manipulating the other hybrids and communicating with them was interesting. And then Timothy Oliphant was amazing in
Oh,
this
he's
show.
so good.
I loved I loved everything he did in that show. It was really, really good performance. But yeah, that's Alien Earth. And now the last two things we're going to talk about is from Marvel Animation, and very, very close to each other. They came out with 4 episode animated projects. One of which we're going to talk about now, which is Eyes of Wakanda. And I thought this was a really solid anthology ish 4 episode arc for the show.
Yeah, and I think this is where, and this is kind of just encompassing Marvel animation in general. I feel like they're kind of shining more in their animation than they are in their live action stuff. Because
Yes.
once again, I thought Eyes of Wakanda was solid. Like it's a very easy watch. 4 episode arc. I particularly liked episode 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Those were primarily my favorite, especially the one with the Trojan War. I felt like just
Yes.
like this Marvel history also wrapped into like real world history and kind of intertwining those two things together. I'm always here for. It actually it gave a good story. It was exciting, and kind of showing the how these artifacts play into the Marvel universe, especially I believe it was episode 4 when they have to return the axe that eventually Killmonger gets out of the museum.
Yeah,
That
the same
sets
act.
up
Yeah, the same act
one
that Killmonger had.
yeah,
At
it's
the
like
end.
this is basically what sets up the Black Panther movie.
Yeah, which is a great tie-in, and I
Yeah.
feel like that's kind of what we lost a little bit with these like Marvel projects. Is like that sometimes they do it, sometimes they don't, but that loose tie into the bigger MCU. It's like I'm watching these things separately. It's like, oh, this is cool, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, this is the axe that Killmonger takes in the museum in Black Panther, and you're like, oh, okay. Now we have reason, context, connective tissue. Like it was a small thing, but it really brought this show together, in my opinion.
Mm.
Like everything that they were putting out, I was like, oh, okay, this is the War Dogs. I understand their history. Now, when we go watch the movie, we can refer back to the show and give it more context of how we got here. And I
Yes.
think that's sometimes what these shows should be doing. Like, what's the story that we didn't know we wanted within this bigger MCU arc? And
Yes.
I think this was a great like exploration of that, like the War Dogs throughout time and seeing their contributions and their connective tissue to stuff that was happening in real world. And like the Iron Fist action was great.
Yes.
The different iterations of the Black Panther was also really cool. And just different aspects of Wakanda, especially going back to that Trojan War episode. You have a person who devoted his life into protecting, like, to protect, protect. Wait. You had this person dedicated to like being this kind of representation of Wakanda in the outside world in secret, and you're doing it for Wakanda, and you're trying to get these artifacts. But yet, in the middle of all that, uh, you created these relationships along the way, and you can see that brotherly bond that he was able to connect with the partner that he had for so long, and like this brother in arms, and the fact that that episode ended so tragically in a way, like he got what he wanted, but at what cost? And then when he goes back to Wakanda, the place that you're doing this for, you don't feel like you belong there anymore. But yet you're still willing to fight for this place in which you feel like you are a stranger in, because you're spending most of your time in the outside world. Was a great contrast and something that they kind of explored a little bit in Black Panther and then expanded upon in the series.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was great. Also, kind of like just showcasing like when you just how important duty was to them as a people. Like
Yeah,
even though he didn't feel at home, he still like he like it weighed on him, but it didn't. It wasn't as if it was hindering him in any way. But it's
right,
the results of his actions still weighed on him, but not to the point where he felt like he needed to like not be a part of Wakanda or not,
right.
to not still give himself to his nation. So I mean, I thought it was great. I thought it was really interesting.
Also, even with the last episode, fighting for Wakanda but not knowing the consequences of your actions, it's like I'm doing this thing that I don't see an immediate return off of because somebody else told me this was for the greater good. And like you will not reap the benefits of that. But in your without knowing you are creating long lasting change. But it has to start with you in that scenario. And then also the episode with the Iron Fist. This was the best representation of Iron Fist we've gotten in a long time. It was just really cool to see that dynamic and like where the Wakandan lore fits into all of this. And I would love to explore more of Iron Fist if they ever do it live action or animated. Because that was a really cool sequence they were able to do. But yeah, overall, like a great solid show. And for your to your point, Marvel animation, like there's been certain areas with What If where we kind of lost a little bit. But since like Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, X-Men 97, like really solid stuff from Marvel Animation, kind of the linchpin of better storytelling that we've had in the last couple of years was
Yeah,
from Marvel Animation.
absolutely.
And that is uh, a, a clean-ish transition into Marvel Zombies, which as far as making this graphic, I loved all these images. I couldn't just pick one. So I wanted to provide all four to show you one, the level of like detail ish of like the different marketing tactics they were showing throughout the promotion of Marvel Zombies and these unique different images that we're used to seeing in other zombie like uh, content, specifically in the bottom two, which was The Walking Dead,
Mm.
and other like kind of parrying itself, and also using iconic images like the Avengers poster and zombifying it, which was also a nice touch to see. But I'm going to say this right now, Ernesto, right now. Marvel Zombies is the best thing that Marvel put out this year.
I will agree with you. I will agree with you. I thought it was great storytelling. I thought it was really, really exciting. And also to know that there's actual real stakes because we're in this alternate timeline. So, like, you see characters die, you're like, oh, they're dead. Like, they're
Yeah,
actually dead. So it felt like it's like some of the deaths, like they felt like they had more weight because we know that we're not in the main timeline. And this is where sometimes we're like, and this is just comics in general, where like their Elseworld or Otherworld stuff is better than the main timeline because you're not hindered like, oh well, this character is going to come back. Like, no, they're dead. Like, that is it
yeah,
for that person. And I like, you just felt that and all in through all these sequences, when all our friends would die episode by episode, and then eventually you face them all in the end in this like zombie blowout. Like, the inclusion of turning Bruce Banner into like this energy thing that
ah,
he has all the Infinity Stones plus his all his gamma radiation tied to him and making him like this ultra powerful Hulk being, I thought was really fucking cool. I mean, that just like aesthetically, just looking at it, when you see the stones
visually.
and the visually, like the stones just coming off of him as like pure energy, I thought that was pretty cool. I thought it was pretty great.
The imagery in this show is insane.
It's beautiful.
Like
Like, I mean, it's a
the
zombie
amount
show.
of
It's weird to say, but like, it's just like the coloring and the animation is just gorgeous.
like visual storytelling they put out throughout these four episodes
Yeah,
is incredible. They done more connecting Marvel stories than they have in years. Like I haven't seen such a such a connect like damn, this is like a culmination of all these superhero stories coming together since Infinity War and Endgame. Granted, a lot of these stories were separated, but it also like relied on like all Marvel properties into telling this story in this alternate universe and kind of going off of like, well, what if the events of Ant-Man and the Wasp, Ant-Man and the Wasp took a turn? And that was your because it started off technically it's a 5 episode story because episode 1 is the what if episode, the
Mhm.
Marvel Zombies what if episode. And then it basically the show kicks off from that one episode and it seamlessly continues from there. Um, but the way that they were able to tell these stories of again things that we're familiar with, we're familiar with the events of Infinity War. This is where a lot of this context. This is where kind of like the story started in a way, like where Infinity War was happening. All these characters were coming together, and then in the midst of all that, you have a zombie outbreak, and so Thanos was in pursuit of collecting all the stones but didn't happen because of the zombie outbreak. And all these characters were already focused on this main mission and then had to abort because of this zombie outbreak. And seeing these characters in a different light, because as soon as you see them pop on screen, you're like, oh shit, that's Captain America, who's already a badass. But what happens when he's a zombie? Like, and that's like the cool stuff we get to see because they're inheriting all of those characteristics and the superpowers of those characters. And especially when you see Wanda and even like some random ones like Captain Marvel and Ezekiel from or not Ezekiel, it's Richard Madden's character, I forgot his name. But he was in Eternals and he was fighting Captain Marvel in the sky. And it's like, that's badass.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't thought about the Eternals in years. And you made me go like, should I go back and rewatch that movie?
It's like, is that
Like,
better than I thought it was?
yeah. It's like, holy shit. And then you also start off your show with new characters like Miss Marvel and Riri Williams and Kate Bishop and like the newer additions to that. And you found a way to incorporate those newer stories into like what was happening around the time of Infinity War. And it's so well put together. And again, the visuals are amazing. What they did with Thor, so good.
So cool.
So cool. And the standout, fucking Blade.
Oh, Blade is Moon Knight. Like, how
Blade
crazy
is
is that?
Moon Knight.
That was Moon Knight Blade or whatever you want to call him.
Yeah.
That was a great mix. And then we actually get to see Marshall Ali as Blade. Like, this is like we've actually seen him in the role technically now.
Well, he didn't voice the character, so
He did.
he did not.
In this one, it sounded just like him. I swear, I thought it was him. Are you sure?
Well, yeah, I'm pretty sure. Like they definitely got the likeness from him. It was supposed to be him. What's funny about the Blade inclusion into the Marvel Zombie show was that when the show was being created, in the upcoming Marvel slate was going to be a Blade movie. So they were planning on like taking that character that would have already been established in MCU canon, but since with all delays, they were already further into production where they had to commit to it. So inadvertently, this was like their alternate introduction of Blade, even though that was never the intention. The intention was to, kind of give us a spinoff of a character that was already introduced in the MCU. Instead, they were the one that actually kind of put it into fruition, and also using the likeness of Mahershala Ali.
Yeah, it was Todd Williams. I guess because I hear Iman Vellani and then like you can definitely tell it was her. So I just assumed that like a lot of them came back. So like Aquafina came back and voiced Katie Chen, Simu Liu voiced Shang-Chi. But yeah,
even Elizabeth Olsen.
Elizabeth Olsen came back. So it was just I guess I didn't hear the difference. So I just assumed that it was actually him. But that voice actor sounds just like him.
Yeah, and what's crazy is that like, what's weird is that was the only character that gave us a little bit different. Like, there was no reason they couldn't just put normal Moon Knight in there. Is what I'm saying. Like,
True.
you could have got Oscar Isaac to either come back or a voice like very similar to Oscar Isaac, and have that character be represented in the show without it being Blade.
Yeah,
but the fact that it was Blade made it like really, really cool.
Yeah, like a lot of them came back. David Harbour came back as Red Guardian. Elizabeth Olsen came back as Wanda. Spider Man was different. You could tell by the voice. It's
Yeah.
Hudson Thames who voiced him. Paul Rudd came back as Scott Lang. Randall Park came back. Who else? Florence Pugh
I think
came back. Haley Steinfeld came back. Dominique Thorne came back. Tessa Thompson came back. Carrie
and by
Carrie Condon voiced Friday, which I think is kind of interesting. Wyatt Russell came back as John Walker.
and some of these are brief too.
Yeah, some of them are really. Some of them I don't really. I think that Greg Furman as Thor. I don't know who that is.
Oh, they didn't bring back. I thought Chris Hemsworth came back. I guess not.
See, I thought that too, but
Yeah.
this whoever this guy is, this guy Dominique.
This
no,
guy.
this
He
guy.
only had like 2 sentences anyway, so it's not like that was a big speaking role. But also to your point, they had stakes in these episodes, so we were like these characters were making sacrifices for the greater good of the episodes and for the season, and the weight was there. You felt their sacrifice, and it didn't feel like they was empty, like they were going to come back because you knew that this was the end of that version of the character. And so there were stakes involved. There were awesome action scenes, great visuals. What they did with Black Panther, amazing. Like when they were telling the story
Oh
and you were
yeah.
getting the perspective through like this story narrative from Peter Parker, and then you see like this non-verbal fight with Black Panther and Thanos. And I remember reading an article about it, and they were saying that we didn't want to, in honor of Chadwick Boseman, we just wanted the scene to play out with no dialogue whatsoever and make it as if Peter Parker was telling the story of what happened in that moment. And it just served like this beautiful visual of like Black Panther just doing his thing with one leg, mind you. And like it was just really badass to see like Chadwick Boseman's Black Panther, that T'Challa, kind of grace our presence on the screen again, and kind of sacrifice himself in that way as well. And it was an also badass moment where again using familiar scenes and then kind of taking it a spin on it, especially with Thor, where Thor comes down, Infinity War is like, "Where is Thanos?" and he does the same thing as if he was always going to do, and then Zombie Zamba, Thanos just like obliterated like Groot and Rocket. Like it was no one's business. And it was just like, this is it. These are the stakes. These are like the connective tissues that we're familiar with, but give us a different version of it. This was the first season of What If, but way better. Like what first season What If did a great job of doing that. It kind of lost its way a little bit in season 2 and 3. But this show took that essence of what we wanted and then propelled it into this great story that kind of ends in a very ominous way. We don't really know what that means toward the ending if they're going to continue it, but even if they don't, it's like it's such a dark ending, and I love it for this.
I mean, yeah.
Uh,
I mean, it's very obvious that she's not. That's reality. That Wanda's manipulating reality for her.
yes,
Because it's also Marvel Zombies, but with them giving us this of her changing herself and altering reality. It's very like House of M, where Wanda is,
mhm,
which is I think what they tried to do with Multiverse of Madness. But I feel like this is like another good version of that, where she just continually just tries to manipulate reality based off of from her trauma. Like she's
yeah.
she's traumatized from the zombie outbreak, so she's trying to manipulate reality to her will. And I think that we're seeing the unfolding of that. So I'm very curious to see what's going to come of this in the next season. There has to be another season. They have to continue it.
I don't know if they will, to be honest with you. I'm so ready for another season of this. And what's crazy that it was supposed to be a movie. This is supposed to be an animated film. However, and it easily plays out like that.
Mhm.
But I guess with the rights to Spider-Man, they don't have movie rights for Spider-Man. So they even if it was on Disney Plus, they couldn't do a movie. And the creators really wanted Spider-Man on the show, so they made it into a 4-episode TV series instead, just to keep that character involved in the story. And so yeah, this show for me was low. I'm like, yeah, this is a fun idea. I'll watch it, but I don't expect much out of it. And then you come out with this, and you're like, holy shit, was that the best thing I've seen from Marvel this year? I can't believe I'm saying that. Like you had 3 movies, other shows that came out. Daredevil was even, like, on that list of things that came out this year, but the one thing that just stuck in my mind that I would 100% go back and rewatch right now is this. Uh, yeah, I don't know, like, as a Marvel fan, I feel seen. Like, this is why we watch Marvel, and even though it's 4 episodes, it's one of the best things I've seen, like, that I was visually and emotionally connected to. Like, again, worth me spending all this time devoted into this franchise.
Oh, I agree 100%. Like I mean all their animated stuff. I mean
Yeah.
X-Men 97, Spider-Man, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. I really hope that they make another season of this cuz
Same.
cuz this is like one of the few projects that are actually doing well.
Yeah, and again, Marvel Animation killing it. I mean, currently they're working on season 2 of X-Men 97 and Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, but, let's put Marvel Zombies on the list. I think you got something going here.
Exactly. Exactly.
But there you go. That is all we've been watching. A little lengthy as we expected, but hey, we had a lot to talk about. And so now we're going to be diving into our spoiler review of Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another. So Ernesto, we'll start with you. What were your thoughts on the film?
So Matt, I have to tell you this movie is fantastic. Like I fucking love this movie. I thought it was really, really good. I mean, it's what 2 hours and 40 minutes, and like I was just along for the ride the whole time. I think we had all-star performances from Benicio del Toro. Like he's got this calm regard during all this chaos. Like he very much playing into like the sensei role. Like find calm throughout the chaos. He was caring for so many uh, people and able to adjust, especially when Leonardo DiCaprio's character, when he gets him this escape route and he's doing like parkour on top of the buildings, and then he just falls because he's just this crashed out hippie he's not physically able to do this anymore. He's a burnout. So jumping across buildings and running away is not necessarily his forte. So he falls down, and then like Benicio, he just adjusts a plan and like, hey, he fell down, and he just very, very quick, like, this is what you're gonna do, this is what you're gonna do. It was a nice character viewpoint in this movie of actual one battle after another, because sometimes that's what you need. You need someone to have that calm regard. I also thought Willa, who was played by Chase Infinity, she was absolutely phenomenal in this role. I thought just what she was able to get, how she was able to play, like embodying both of her parents in that role. I felt like she was able to bring a lot to that role, where she was able to have some of Lockjaw come out of her and some of Perfidia, who was her mom in the movie. The social commentary is great. When Leonardo DiCaprio is arguing with the phone operator and he calls him like a liberal fuck, and just like the whole entire back and forth, he's like, you're violating my space. He's like, this is the fucking resistance. He's like, what are you talking about? And like how when he finally got him, like, he got, because he's a burnout, so he doesn't remember all these phone codes and like all this resistance bullshit to, like, he's like, I just need to know where my daughter is. He's like, I don't know what the fucking time is, like, man. And then he eventually gets his friend who's high up, who's still in the organization, and he gets him to clear him on the phone. He's like, yeah, put that bitch back on the phone. He's like, yeah, what do you have to say to me? He's like, the fucking location. Give me the coordinates, you asshole. Like to me, that bit never got old. I love I could have listened to that shit like 5 more times. Like he was just going off on him. I just thought it was really fun. And I mean, the movie kind of plays to like the social commentary and the political climate of like political extremism. And I thought I thought they were able to give that message of extremism while also highlighting issues within their society, which is very obviously analogous to what things that are happening in our society. And I thought that Paul Thomas Anderson was able to tackle these issues effectively without like showcasing one side, but also not showing favor really to one side or the other, kind of just showing both sides, but throwing it through the viewpoint of our main leads here. Something that besides the social commentary, I think the thing that stuck out to me the most was this dynamic between Bob and Perfidia and them becoming parents. You know, what do we do when you have kids? And do you continue on your path, whether it's on in your own bullshit, whether that be extremism, or do you conform and realize that you have, like, there's another, this is the battle that you need to tackle. And it was, to me, it was like a Bob versus Perfidia. Like, she was feeling a lot of that postpartum depression, and like, Bob, they made it a point to show that Bob had already transitioned into being a father. He even says to her, like, we're a family. Like, this is like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, this is what we're supposed to be doing. But she was that free spirit where she felt like she still needed to continue on with the revolution, and then she eventually gave in. They found her, and she gave up all her friends, and then we go through this crazy montage where they just either take them out or take them to jail, and then she runs away. So now she's being seen as this rat. So now he has to tell his daughter, he has to deal with telling his daughter that, what does he tell her? Does he tell her that she's a rat, or does he want his daughter to honor her mother of who he really saw her as? And I thought that was really interesting. I also love the scene where Bob's talking to the teacher, and she's like, she's doing so well, and he just starts crying, and she's like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "I just have tears of joy." And I actually really love that scene, because I think it emulates how parents feel. Like, we just, like, whatever faults you see in yourself, you try not to translate that onto your kids. So when you have that outside validation of somebody telling you, like, "Oh, your kid's doing well," and especially for him, like, he sees himself as a fuck up, and like, hearing that is like, well, it's just such a relief to hear that at this point in my life, my kid is doing better than I was at that point. And I felt like that, like, even though we find out that wasn't, that she wasn't his daughter, but he still loved her nonetheless. Like, that he's like that, even though biologically it wasn't his, but like, he raised her. Like, that was his daughter. And
Yeah, what did Yondu say at the end of Guardian Galaxy 2? He's like, "That may be your daddy, but he ain't your," like, what, something along the lines like, "That may be your daddy, but he ain't your father," something along those lines.
and it's true, because
Yeah.
obviously, we look at the dynamic of Lockjaw and like what he was willing to do once he even found out that was his daughter. Like, he's like, "Well, if these things line up, it's not going to end well for you. Like, basically, if you're my daughter, I'm gonna make you disappear. Like, I'm gonna kill
Right.
you, and I'm gonna make you disappear." And I thought it was an interesting to show the extremism on both sides. Whereas his point of view, like, he was running this immigration camp, but then it turned into him running this illegal operation so that he can find his daughter and take her out and have her removed so he can join the Christmas Adventurers Club, which is like a white elitist group. And it was I have more, but I feel like, at least to start, we'll go from there, because
Yeah.
there's a lot, I feel like there's still a lot to unpack with this movie.
Yeah, and there's a lot going on in this movie. Again, it's almost 3 hours long, so like, there's a lot that they're trying to explore. I think there's a point, and I feel like a lot of these movies where I feel like this is a little bit Oscar baity
It
to some
is.
degree, but there's also a lot of like actual things that are going on in this movie. But there was, from time to time, I often was sitting there and being like, "So what's the point of this? Like, what's the point of these scenes?" As I'm seeing this as a whole, like, I think I'm expecting more of a clear narrative.
Mm,
And then at the end of the movie, when I came to realize, like, oh, the point of this movie is a father-daughter story.
yes.
Like, here's a father who is trying to find his daughter. That's the root of it. But I'm looking for more as I'm watching it. Like, what does this mean overall? And I feel like I do that with most movies. I'm looking for the either the deeper meaning, even though there's a lot of deep meanings into this, but not the ones that I was expecting.
Mm.
And like a more of a singular narrative going through. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's this you have this once radical group of individuals who then disbanded for various reasons. Now we take place years later, and that this past is coming back to haunt them, and the daughter and the father get separated, and then now how are we getting back? That's brass tacks. That is the moral of the story, with a lot of other subtle like and deep meanings and themes throughout the whole movie. But like it after like on the drive home, that's what I was thinking about. I was like, okay, why was I not fully enjoying everything about it as I was watching it? Was the long runtime? Like, what were my issues with the movie? And ultimately, it just comes back down to expectations. As I was watching it, I'm thinking the movie's going to go in one direction
Mm.
to be more of like a like like thriller, big picture, surprise moments, and it wasn't because there was a part of me that was also waiting for Perfidia, who played by Tiana Taylor, was going to pop up at some point. I didn't like at the end of the day, she never popped up again after she left originally. Like they showed her kind of disappearing, and I'm thinking, oh, we're gonna see her again at some point. And then the whole movie is like, well, she's gonna come back now, 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 now. Okay, she's not coming in this movie back at all. So like that was me in my expectations watching this, as I was watching this movie. So there was a lot that I feel like were a little bit drawn out. However, there was what this movie did really good at was tension.
Hmm.
There was this ongoing stream of like we're on the move, and I feel like I was invested into like once they were on the run, we were always on the run, like everybody. It was a cat and mouse game. It was trying to search for the daughter. I feel like even the inclusion of Benicio del Toro's character guiding Leonardo DiCaprio into his journey, like that was just entertaining to watch. The whole back and forth on the phone was hilarious. I also love that when at the end of all this, and he gets the guy back on the phone, it's like, just tell me what, and then he's like, by the way, what was the time? And he goes, there is no time. Time's an illusion. He goes, fuck you, and then
He goes, that tells me you're not a parent. Fuck you. It's like you're,
yeah.
you're an asshole.
And so like that was like a great end to the joke. And there was a lot of that. Like it was very humorous in the way that they were kind of going about that version of the story, as well as there was some seriousness to it with the daughter being kidnapped and kind of being in her own radical self of like not understanding fully the situation, especially when it came down to the phone. Like, oh, she doesn't have a cell phone. She doesn't have a cell phone. And then it's like, well, she does have a cell phone. And then like that was like, girl, if you just listened, then they wouldn't have been able to find you. But then they did. Just based off of process of elimination of where you were going. At least I have an idea of the direction you were heading.
Hmm.
But like stuff like that was like, that created tension within it. And then also the relationship that Leonardo DiCaprio had with his daughter was very much as any parent would. Like you have this teenager who's not listening, but yet he loved his daughter more than anything. And then you have a mother who was purposely absent. And honestly, that was the biggest character that I was really wanting to know more from, because where were you? And like, are you still fighting the good fight, or are you just hiding? And I feel like in a way they didn't really answer that, because she ratted out her entire team, and they all either died or went to jail, and most of them died or was in hiding like Regina Hall was. Like she was able to, support the daughter, and then I'm assuming she ended up going to jail afterward. I don't think they killed her off. But like there was a lot of moments like I was waiting to see like where was the mother, like her to come back, and I feel like that's like my one biggest gripe with the movie was that we never got a resolution to it, except for I think that's what the purpose of the letter was, but for me that wasn't good enough. Like the letter was the closure for the character,
Hmm.
and like she's still out there, but I kind of wanted to see her back into the story. But obviously that's not the story they were trying to tell.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like it wasn't enough, but sometimes the resolution that you want is not what you're gonna get. Like
Yeah.
I think she also, I mean, as a daughter, I'm sure she wanted her mom to come back. But unfortunately that wasn't the case. Like,
Right. Right.
so what you get, like, or somebody does you wrong and they give you this subpar I'm sorry. It's like, well, you can't put expectations on somebody who doesn't want to be there. You know what I mean?
Right, right. Yeah, and that's a good point and they probably inclusion in the story as well. like she went as far as to reach out to you at some point, but still doesn't have the courage to go and face that life that you could have lived, the life of being a family, being a mother. She chose to live another life, which we were not privy to. And I don't think the letter explained exactly what she was doing, because there's a part of me that she still wanted to be a radical, but you ratted out your whole team. So like, I don't know where you landed on it. Were you just doing it for yourself, or are you still fighting the good fight somewhere else?
And I think, and I think based on the information we're given, I think even she doesn't even know why she did it. And maybe so not only is she living with the guilt of abandoning her daughter, but she also
Hmm.
abandoned the only other thing. So she abandoned the two things that meant to her the most, which is that
Yeah.
her friends and this revolution that they started, and plus her actual child. So she's chose the coward's route and she left. She went
Yeah.
to the last saw. She went to Mexico. We didn't see her die or make it mention that she died off screen. When what I initially thought when Lockjaw came to the door and he was knocking, couldn't get a hold of her, I thought she had killed herself. I thought he
Mm,
was going to break the door down and we would have found her like hung or something. But it's
gotcha.
interesting that they kind of give you that, like you're mentioning, that tension, but you're kind of left to wonder until you see the note. So I want,
Right.
so it's intentional that they made her leave. So, and she still took a coward's route out, but now instead of her killing herself, she's left with this, that we know that she's out there somewhere living with this guilt.
Right.
And that's almost even more tragic because she's choosing to live with all this guilt that she thrust upon herself.
Right. And then switching gears to a character, Lockjaw, who had his own bag of worms in and of itself, of like doing his duty, but then somehow getting involved in this weird relationship with Perfidia, of like, because it was a twofold, because they both had some sort of power trip with one another,
Yes.
because it was even weird in the beginning where she was like, you know, get basically at gunpoint to get an erection. Like it wasn't like tie yourself or anything, and cuz was that too, but like for her own personal pleasure, for some reason she was like, get an erection or I'll kill you. Like it was definitely a power play for her. But as the story continues in the early part of the movie, obviously they were able to continue that power trip relationship, because Lockjaw was able to find her in the act when she was trying to bomb
Like
the
a
facility.
courthouse.
I'm not sure exactly what it was.
It's like a courthouse
And
or something.
a court, yeah. And then they're like, then it was almost like a blackmail situation, but then it turned into like something that they were both into. And then there's a point where like I don't see any sexual, like I don't see any sex happening, but clearly there was when we later found out in the movie, because it was all very like dominatrix vibe of like she's in power and he's submitting. But because they didn't really show them, I don't believe they had sex. At least I don't think they
Well, they
did in
did.
the.
Well, they must have because we found out that
Well,
that
yes,
that's his
but
daughter.
but in those scenes, I don't think they ever showed them
No, they just alluded. I mean, they just
alluded
alluded
to.
to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it was a very interesting dynamic to throw in there, and then him and his connection with it, and he even was saying like I love black women, like that's my kink, and yet the irony is that he's fixated so hard of joining basically this white supremacy group.
Yes.
And like that's like his mission. This is the elite of the elite. I need to be part of this, but he knows that he has to bury his past in order to be involved with that, and basically lying to him or them that he is like this squeaky clean white guy. And on actuality he's not, and he spends the entire movie trying to erase his past and actually have verbal confirmation, not verbal, but visual confirmation that this is not his daughter,
Yeah.
and like going on this wild goose chase of trying to, unearth the past of these radical acts that were happening back in the 60s, which was interesting, because again I was trying to figure out the whole point, like what's the bigger message here, and there was a lot character wise, but plot wise, in my opinion, there wasn't, which is where I was looking for more meaning for. But in actuality, it was just that it was like, hey, this guy wants to join this group and he needs to get rid of his past, so that's the story that we're going with, and that's how basically how all of this has unearthed itself, after kind of many years of kind of just sitting dormant for a while, which is it was an interesting storytelling tactic. but and to end ultimately ended up biting him in the ass at the end of the day.
Well, yeah, because then once they found out about it, then they sent that other guy to kill him, which I mean he didn't even do anyway. He
Right.
blew like half his face off, and then the guy will just kind of walks away. Even though
Yeah,
Bob
it's crazy
Leo,
that he didn't even shoot him.
he did shoot him. He shot him in the head, and that he veered off the road. But he didn't
But
he didn't kill him. That's the thing. He had him
Well,
roll
right.
his window down, and then he blasted him with a shotgun, and then he obviously didn't die, but he just got knocked unconscious, and he's all bloody, and just assumed that he was dead. Even though
Right.
Bob, Leonardo DiCaprio's character, went later and poked his head with a gun, and he didn't move unless he was just pretending. I mean, I guess we'll
Well, I
really
think he
never
was just
know.
unconscious.
Yeah,
Yeah. But I guess one would assume that he was dead. I mean, we all did, obviously. I was
yeah.
surprised when he was walking again. But as far as an assassin's concerned, finished the job. I mean, granted, the car's in fire or exploded or whatever, but I don't know, just an extra few rounds doesn't hurt anybody. But
I thought some of the cinematography was just absolutely
yes,
gorgeous. Like just the use of these hill scenes, like it kind of to me it was like it kind of played into the one battle after another theme because like when you get to the top of one hill, like you realize you're at the bottom of the next hill, and then you don't see you once you go overtake one task, you don't see what's lying in front of you. And then we see
ooh, I
that
like
play
that.
out. We see that play out in the end when Willa she uses the hills to her advantage when she goes over the ridge and then leaves the car in the middle of the road because the guy's looking for her, and he goes, and that's what causes him to crash, and then he eventually gets out and she shoots him. So I thought it was an interesting use. It just because I mean there's a lot of wide shots of just these hills and these wide
Yeah.
landscapes, and that's just kind of I was thinking about it. It's like you just don't see like a lot of shots I've heard of them driving or her driving, and then you don't see the next thing right after you. But it's not until you get to the top of that hill or the end of that battle that you see what's in front of you.
Yeah, I was about to make the same exact thing you were going to say with the cinematography in the hills. That was great for storytelling, great visual storytelling.
Yes.
There was just a lot of like the 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 cars just going up and down, and again using that to her advantage, and smartly using that to her advantage.
Yes.
That was a great use of camera work there, and it served very well to the story. And even the title, one battle after another, you see it throughout the whole movie
Yes.
of like even Leonardo DiCaprio, one mission, one battle after another of trying to get his daughter. The same for Lockjaw, it was Sean Penn's character, and then even a generational thing, like the basically this young girl who is now suffering from a normal childhood because of the battle that her parents fought, and now coming back to bite her in the ass in a way, and something that she needs to deal with. But then on top of that, using that and her past to then fight the next battle in the generation. Like at the very end of the movie, she's choosing to be this activist and do better for this world. And like her dad's like, is like, that 3 hours away. He's like, all right, have fun, sweetie, be safe. Like kind of in applauding and like having her go off in that journey to be the next generation of protesters and radicals and stuff like that, to kind of be the person to change or a part of a change in the world.
I actually really loved the ending because I feel like it kind of plays into like I feel like the ending gives us that he accepts her as his daughter and
Hmm.
that this is his life, but also that Willa has come to terms with who she really is as a person because
Yeah,
she has this closure from her mom, but so but that still doesn't deter her from that side of her mom. Like she honors that free spirit side of her, and then we see that with Bob, like letting her go off and be a part of this resistance. Like kind of just telling her he's not suppressing it. She's entering the next stage of her life for her next set of battles, and then all he can do is be there for her. He can't stop her, but I think in that essence, he's breaking the cycle because maybe Perfidia was the exact same way, but now at least Willa has her father to help guide her and be there for her, as opposed to Perfidia, who came off as she didn't really have anybody. So
yeah,
that even though you aren't in an ideal situation, but you can help break that generational cycle. It's just evident that he was giving her support as she was about to leave. Actually, it was one part of the ending that I really loved.
Yeah, and I think they did a really good job tying it all together. I do agree with you. I think the ending was really strong in some of like the. I wouldn't say there was any weak moments in here. It just some moments were a little bit drawn out at the end of the day. Like
Yeah,
I would benefit personally more on a rewatch,
yeah,
like
I think
based
so
on my
too.
initial thoughts of the movie. Now I'm not rushing to go back and watch a 3 hour movie, but I think knowing myself and knowing some of the things we've talked about that I would benefit more from a rewatch just um to now know what I know and now taking in those themes and even furthering that. And
I feel like maybe I was able to resonate with the story a little bit more because I have a daughter, and I
yeah,
think as a and it's not just to knock people who don't have kids. It's just like I think I was able to just watch it from a different perspective than you.
for sure. Yeah, 100%. Um and yeah, and even like going to Regina Hall's character still being the person who's fighting the good fight and like willing to, even though the right thing is like she could have her personal vendetta for for um for Phidia, but the kid had nothing to do with it. And so as just to being a good person, decides to go out of her way and help her and trying to invade the, at least at the first part, the school, and put her in a safe place with the nun. And then obviously that, how that worked out. But then even the guy who kidnapped her, I'm not the one that kidnapped her, but when Sean Penn gave it to like this assassin and was tasked to kind of kill her and put her in a situation where she would die, he's like, I don't do kids. Like I don't want to be
Yeah,
responsible for killing kids. And then he did the right thing and ultimately probably sacrificing himself
yeah.
to make sure that the kid was still alive, even though there was no really pure evidence or any story wise, except for I don't want to do this, that he had to do that, but he did it anyway, just to be a good person.
He felt it was a battle that he needed to undertake. I just love
Yeah,
that. I just love that the theme of the name of this movie is just a conscious reoccurring theme. Like it's like almost every scene, whether it's a mini battle or meant to the little battle, like everybody's fighting their own battle.
yeah, yeah, you're right. And when you think about it more, each character had their own battle to deal with, and they did a really good job giving them their small moments, big or small, within the larger part of it. And even Benicio del Toro, his cool demeanor, he's like, I'm used to this. He's like,
Yeah,
yep, this is the plan. This is where we're going. Even when he gets captured, he's like, yep, this is what's gonna happen. And he's doing like a little dance, depending the pretending he's drunk,
yes,
to the police. And he was like, he was, he was like, you want to tell me what got thrown back that there? He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. What got thrown off my car? I didn't throw anything out. Nothing. And like just the willingness of just like he didn't owe Leonardo DiCaprio any favors. It was just goodness because he was a good person. He didn't want to see him get caught. He wanted to see him get to his daughter. Like he was willing to help him on that journey. And I was reading an article of like, and this is the thing I wasn't really thinking about because I'm thinking for deeper meanings within these characters' decisions. And ultimately, the director Paul Thomas Anderson was like, there was just a theme of just people being or just doing good things for others was also a theme that was happening throughout this movie. Not because they helped them personally, just because it was the right thing to do. I think a lot of characters did that, except for Sean Penn. Obviously, he was our bad guy throughout the
yeah.
movie.
He was horrible.
Yeah, he was a piece of shit. But I think his performance, though, amazing. Like to me, Sean
Oh,
Penn was a standout.
oh, he was phenomenal. I also really loved the way that just how prominent the music was.
Mm-hmm.
Like a perfect example, just with Lockjaw, Sean Penn's character. Right after he leaves the Adventurers Club, he has this like worried look, and we got this little like the score that's building, and then it immediately cuts to a close up shot, and then you just hear it's like it's like like
Yeah,
this very ominous music of like this dread of like of this thing. Like you immediately get the notion that like oh he's fucking really worried about what he's gonna have to do. But I thought he played his role really well, just kind of like
yeah,
back and forth with like trying to be this picture perfect people to the adventurous club, and then
yeah,
like you hear him come up to Bob, and that you mentioned it earlier when he's like, "Black women, I just love them. I love
Yeah.
black. I just love black women." Or like when he sees her and he just comes up on her, and he's like, "I don't care what you do." He's like, "Just meet me. I want my gun and my hat, and I want you to meet me in this hotel room." And I think it's just this. I think you're right. It was just this power play they had between each other, and it just played off so well. And I think maybe with Perfidia, like she was ashamed that she fell prey to the person who she was so the most against.
Hmm.
These are people who she deemed as oppressors and that she hated them, but yet she had a child with him, and she had this like weird sex thing with this with like who the guy who she locked up and robbed
Yeah.
in his immigration camp. I think that in itself maybe plays to why she ran away, because she's so ashamed of who the actual father of her child is that she couldn't even
Yeah.
face him because of her duty she probably felt to the revolution. It's just more I think about it, the more I'm kind of getting a better. I feel like I get a better understanding of her. Like maybe that's why
Yeah.
she just couldn't face it all in the end.
Yeah. It could. That could. That's a, makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Of like that reasoning of why she never came back. The guilt, the embarrassment, the like. I ratted out all my team members for just for my own personal gain and not for the fight. And where did that get me? And so, yeah, there's a lot that we can continue to talk about with this, but I mean, I think overall, like, it was a really good representation of the story he was trying to tell, and ultimately, it was a really good movie. It was a really good movie, and like again, something I probably need to rewatch again to kind of really dive deeper into these themes. And if this movie is looking at the award season because it's out so early, it will probably be available to stream on. I guess it'll be HBO Max at this point since it's Warner Brothers. It'll probably be available to stream by the end of the year, if not early 2026, and something that we could probably easily rewatch again if it's up for the award season. But before we dive into award contention. I do want to quickly talk about the box office, as we typically do. We did mention earlier that this movie has a budget of around 130 to 175 million dollars, which is a large price tag. And at the time of the recording, this movie opened at around $22 million. It did take number one. Not a big opening, considering that Warner Brothers had a really strong streak this year of movies opening up over 40 million in opening weekend. So this one was definitely under that, but opened to about 22 million at number one domestically. At the time of this recording, the movie has made $42.6 million domestically, $59.5 million internationally, with a grand total of $102.1 million. Quite surprising given its opening of 22 million that it has reached over $100 million in its second week. And I think as the positive word of mouth and the notoriety of especially Leonardo DiCaprio, Benicio Del Toro, and Sean Penn is probably driving people coming back for week two and three for this movie. And I think the positive word of mouth is definitely helping this film. Considering that this past week, this movie continued at number two, going behind Taylor Swift, which it's hard to be number one when Taylor Swift is in the box office, as we've learned. This is now the second
Yeah.
time she put out a movie or some sort of big screen presence experience, and it has topped the box office yet again. And then you had a movie, Dwayne Johnson's new movie, The Smashing Machine, that opened at $6 million at number three, under One Battle After Another. That was a not a great opening for The Smashing Machine, but kind of just says like where people would rather have seen One Battle After Another, either again or that was the movie of choice. And then obviously there was a large crowd going to see Taylor Swift. Um, so I think over time it could probably benefit more. Um, like I think the numbers will grow as the weeks come out. We are coming on a big release this week with Tron Ares, so the numbers might come down a little bit. But I think Tron Ares and One Battle After Another are not the same movie, particularly not pertaining the same audience. So I think it can still do really well as it rounds out the rest of October. And then if it gets some award attention, then I think it'll probably get some more bang for its buck there. But with that, where do you see the awards lie? I know we were talking about it. 11-time Oscar nominee Paul Thomas Anderson, Do you think we're going to be talking about this movie in the award season?
Oh, well, come on, man. 100%. This movie. That's not, I mean, that's without a doubt. I mean, this movie is obviously going to be Oscar contention. My predictions, and this is something we also didn't mention, was Leonardo DiCaprio's performance. I mean, he was phenomenal in this movie. And I mean, for me, this is easily one of his best roles. Like, he's just, I feel like I don't know. I was lost in his character. I felt like he played his character so well that I was lost within his role in a good way. So for Oscars, to be honest, I see Best Picture, I see cinematography, I see score, I can see supporting actress for Chase Infinity, I can see supporting actor for Benicio Del Toro. Even Sean Penn. Like, I don't know, this movie just hits on a writing, like directing, it just, to me, this movie hits on a lot of different levels. So we're definitely going to be talking about that. I'll put it this way: I'll be very surprised if there's no mention of this movie at all during Oscar season. Be like, well, what the fuck? Well, then what are we looking at for Oscar season? Because if this ain't it, then we got a problem.
I think I will add editing to your list.
I agree.
I think
I can agree
would
with that.
be a really good there. But yeah, I think everything you just said, 100%. I think this movie could be up there for a lot of different awards, especially for some acting noms, directing, writing, best picture. It's up there. I think this is like the first real contender. Well, I say that Sinners is also a pretty good contender that happened earlier this year. But I think as we are entering the fall season and entering the movies that typically are looked at for award season, I think this one is the first real contender we've seen so far. Be like, okay, we're definitely going to be continuing and watching this and talking about this movie for the next couple of months here. So with that, Ernesto, your 5-star rating and your final thoughts.
Well, final thoughts. This is a main Oscar contender, and especially in my book for next year. A lot of standout performances. I mean, everything there. This movie, like I just said, just hits on a lot of different levels. This movie is 2 hours and 41 minutes long. I would absolutely go see this movie again in theaters without hesitation. Like, I'd gladly go sit down and rewatch this again. I just felt like it has a lot to offer, and I'll be able to pick up on the things that I missed on the second watch versus an original watch. So as far as my 5-star, there's not really much I'm going to knock it off. So I'm actually going to give it 5 stars.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm gonna give
5 stars.
It's getting 5 for me. And I guess I can meet you at 4.5 if you want to bring it down.
I
I know you. I know, Matt. I've worked with you long enough. I know you.
Yeah, to me, this is not 5 out of 5. However, I think it has increased my rating as we were having this conversation. I'm glad
I could do that for you again.
Yes, it happens quite a bit. But also, I think that's the part of it, though. This is part of the experience of going to the movies and having a movie sit with you. Because even for the short time, walked out of the theater, I was at 3.5. When I got home, though, because I was thinking about the movie, it landed on a 4. Like, I was like, okay, 4 out of 5. Actually, this was better than I originally felt as I was exiting the theater, because a lot of things were coming in. I was digesting it a little bit. It wasn't an instant hit for me, but I was able to grow with it and get it a 4. So that's what I was walking in here with. However, I can get to a 4.5.
I'm glad I'm glad I could coax you into the 4.5 at least.
Yeah, I'm about to say I can get to the 4.5. We got there, but regardless, it was still it's a great movie.
Yeah,
a great offering to have as we enter the fall season of other movies that could be coming out. Like, I will say this: there were some scenes that were a little drawn out. However, I was never bored in this 2 hour and 41 minute.
Yeah, totally agree.
Like, the intensity was brought the entire time. And I agree with you. I'd be shocked if we are not talking about this movie in awards.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a lot of questions if it's nowhere in the conversation. I'm like, well, what are we actually looking at then?
Yeah. It's like, if this ain't cinema, what is it? What are we doing?
What are we doing? What are you watching? Gabby's Dollhouse. What are we doing? We know you're
We
gonna.
have
We know you're gonna give it. We know you're gonna put up Wicked. Like you don't even need to watch it. We already know it's gonna be nominated. What else you got?
Taylor Swift. How is she Best Picture?
Oh my god! Can you imagine?
It's not even a movie.
It's not a movie. Made a lot of money, but it's not a movie.
It's not a movie. How is it Best Picture? I don't understand. This is my one battle after another with Hollywood. I don't understand it. I see a good movie. It's not represented. What's going on, Hollywood?
We're sinners. Where's one battle after another? What are we doing?
We're all sinners here. What's going on? All right. I don't mean to prolong this, but again, Uncle Roger's for us. If you don't know who he is, you'll get to know him later.
We're sorry. He's here. Unfortunately, he's here to stay. Well, he's not going anywhere. He comes out at certain times, especially when we have Esteban on the show. It's like all show. Like
The whole thing. I'm sitting in my favorite chair. I'm not going nowhere.
I'm not going nowhere. I'm here to talk about movies. What'd you like?
That's right.
What'd you eat?
What'd you like about it? Tell me. Tell Uncle Roger your thoughts. Come on.
Oh, you're wrong. The movie's terrible.
The movie cinema. You're wrong.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Anyway, that's our spoiler review on one battle after another. It's a long episode, y'all. I don't know how long we're sitting at right now.
We're over 3 hours.
We're over what?
We're over 3 hours. At this
Amazing. All right. Well, let's wrap this up, shall we? If you want more from us, you can always follow us on our social media channels on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok at Box Office Bingers, our X and Letterboxd page at Box Office Binger, and our Threads page and Instagram page at Box Office_Bingers. The fun doesn't stop here. It continues on all of our social media channels, so be sure to give each one of those a follow. As I mentioned earlier, we'll tell you all the entertainment news on our Facebook, Threads, and Instagram page. But we'll also tell you what's new to streaming every Friday. The box office numbers every Sunday. You can see our beautiful faces as well on our YouTube and TikTok pages. And we'll keep up to date with all of our movie reviews on our Letterboxd pages. All there on our social media channels. So we appreciate if you give one, two, all of them a follow. Next week, I think we got a movie lined up.
We're going to be reviewing The Smashing Machine, Dwayne Johnson's new movie, and Emily Blunt by A24. It's been getting some buzz. It's gotten some mixed reviews. So we're going to make that determination ourselves. And hopefully we'll have a special guest on. So we're going to have a fun time. It's going to be another great episode. Probably going to talk about Peacemaker. Maybe. I don't know. Depends.
Maybe what? Maybe again?
We might talk Peacemaker. We'll see.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Hopefully we can talk about Peacemaker, the finale, and all of season 2. To your point, Smash Machine, mixed reviews. Definitely didn't do good in the box office. But hey, you don't have to be a good movie in the box office to be a good movie.
That is true. At least, and I think it's something very different that we've seen The Rock in. And I think that's probably the thing that's intriguing me the most.
Yes, a different performance from The Rock. And I 100% agree with that. So come back next week to hear our thoughts on The Smashing Machine. And we'd like to thank every one of you for listening to us to talk about movies. We really do appreciate it. Come back next week for more movie fun. You're not going to regret it. And for that, I've been your host, Matt Diaz.
Been Ernesto Santos. See ya.